Chapter 1049. The last three moves of the Myriad Heaven Divine Fist were not profound martial techniques. However, with Xiao Chen's modifications and improvements, their destructive power was no weaker than the profound martial techniques of other cultivators. 7 days passed in a flash. Xiao Chen had practiced most of the 1,000 Frost Battle Snow. In the end, it was a profound martial technique left behind by someone else. He could not execute it as he pleased, nor did he comprehend it smoothly. Whoosh! A petite figure flew over from the distance. With a thought, Xiao Chen made the frost on the ground and the drifting snow in the sky vanish instantly. Ao Jiao landed on the ground and patted her chest. She smiled and said, "That girl is much smarter than you." She moved the Mo clan to the Broken Cloud Sea and hid there temporarily, making it difficult for me to find her. When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled. With this, he relaxed. Mo Chen was indeed a smart person. She knew that she had to endure when the time was right. "I saw you practicing the 1,000 Frost Battle Snow earlier. How was it? With your comprehension ability, it should be about time, right?" Ao Jiao asked with a smile. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Yes. Proud snow bullying Frost, 1,000 Frost does not accept it. The name of this saber is Proud. Snow has pride, Frost has pride. When the saber is swung, it has to bring out the pride in its bones, unleashing it without restraint." Ao Jiao entered deep thought as she sized up Xiao Chen. She said, "I suddenly discovered that the frost in this saber is very similar to you. White snow is born noble, descending from the sky. The moment it appears, it becomes the center of attention. Its pride soars to the clouds, revealing its cold light. On the other hand, frost is born from a lowly background. It is born from deep underground filled with ravines. From birth, it will be trampled on by others. However, no matter how lowly it is, no matter how ordinary it is, the pride in its bones will not die. Frost will eventually be able to defeat the white snow filling the sky." Ao Jiao's words made Xiao Chen very spirited. Then he looked into the distance. Frost Battle Snow. Now, this frost was going to leave this cloud sea domain. He wanted to see if the snow-covered outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean were as incredible as Xianyuan Zhantian said. Purple Cloud Island, the largest island at the edge of the Southern Sea. After crossing this island, one would officially enter the Southern Sea. The largest city on the island was called Purple Cloud City. In an inn somewhere in the city. Did you hear? 2 of the Divine Dragon Palace's supreme elders died at the hands of the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen. How could I not know about the recent uproar in the Southern Sea region? I heard that even the old Dragon King, who was in closed-door training, was nearly alarmed. Speaking of which, this Blue Dragon King is really incredible. He used a secret treasure to instantly kill the 8 blue-robed emperors in the Cloud Sea domain. The Divine Dragon Palace thought that he had lost his trump card and wanted to take advantage of the situation. In the end, they suffered a double loss and lost face. Say, do you think that there is anyone in our Southern Sea region that can match up to Xiao Chen within the same generation? Inns and taverns were always the places where cultivators gathered the most. This was also the place where news spread the fastest. The death of 2 blue-robed Emperor Supreme Elders of the Divine Dragon Palace was a major matter that could not be kept a secret. In less than a month, the news spread throughout the Southern Sea. Who could match up to the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen? When someone raised this question, the bustling inn immediately fell silent. Even the older generation blue-robed emperor died at the hands of Xiao Chen. Who in the same generation could stop him? Perhaps the holy scions of the immortal Holy Lands might be able to match him. Right? Don't overestimate others. The outstanding talents of our heavenly starry ocean are not weak either. The 5 poison sects' strange poison techniques, the myriad fiend islands' ancient inheritance, and the Heavenly Province Academy's righteous chi are all at least 100,000 years old. I heard that the Lunar Palace's holy daughter is coming to our Purple Cloud City today to treat people for free. The Sun Palace's holy scions and the scions of the ancient noble clans are all coming after hearing the news. Is that true? The Lunar Palace's holy daughter rarely leaves Bright Moon City. Why is she here this time? Perhaps because the topic of matching up to Xiao Chen was too heavy, the topic of the inn quickly shifted to the lunar palace's holy daughter. The atmosphere turned lively once more. At a table by the window on the second floor, a white-clad youth with an outstanding air and delicate features held a white fan in his hand. This person looked like he was only a grandmaster-level martial sage. However, his aura was unfathomable, like the icy water in a cold pool, very misty. When the youth heard this news, the wine cup that he was holding to his lips paused slightly. He revealed an interested expression as he put down the wine cup and muttered, "Lunar Palace's holy daughter?" The Lunar Palace. That holy land with a special status far away from the mundane world. Should I go and take a look? Since the outstanding talents of the Southern Sea will come after hearing the news, this is also an opportunity. I want to see how outstanding the cultivators of the same generation in the heavenly starry ocean are. This person was none other than Xiao Chen, who had disguised himself and used the foundation returning art to hide his cultivation. He was on his way to the largest trading center of the Southern Sea, the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market. That place was a maritime market, a sea market specially prepared for cultivators. It was boundlessly bustling and bustling. Be it illegal goods of unknown origins or treasures obtained through legitimate channels, one could quickly sell them there. Furthermore, there were many merchant associations, so one would not have to worry about suffering a loss. Xiao Chen had heard that the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market was about to hold the biennial 10,000 Treasure Festival. There would be all sorts of auctions. No matter what level one would be able to find the most suitable item. Not only could one sell the goods on hand, but one could also search for treasures that one wanted at the auction. At the same time, one could also experience the grand occasion of the 10,000 Treasure Festival. Killing 3 birds with 1 stone was very suitable. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter was very famous. Since he met her by chance, there was no harm in going and taking a look. It would not take much time. Xiao Chen waved his hand and called the waiter over. The waiter walked over with a joyful smile on his face. This young master had been very extravagant in the morning. After asking around for some information, he rewarded the waiter with 100 astral coins, equivalent to several years of his salary. When the waiter saw Xiao Chen wave his hand again, he rushed over in a hurry, afraid of being slow. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter is really coming to Purple Cloud Island. Do you know why? The waiter smiled and said, "Yes, she is coming. I heard that this holy daughter left Moon City half a year ago, searching everywhere for famous doctors. Everywhere she went, she would treat the injuries of others. This time, she is just passing through Purple Cloud Island and will be staying there for a few days. Her destination is the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market. There are several Grandmaster alchemists hired by large merchant associations there, and they are quite famous." Xiao Chen sighed softly. Finding it strange, he said, since this Lunar Palace's holy daughter dares to treat illnesses, her medical skills should be relatively good as well. Why is she looking for famous doctors? The waiter smiled and said, "I find it strange as well. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter has excellent medical skills and excellent alchemy skills. She once saved several people who were on the verge of death. However, such a person is like a fairy from heaven. How can a mere manservant like me guess the thoughts of a fairy?" This made sense. It would be strange if the waiter before him knew about such a difficult problem. Xiao Chen smiled and asked, "Do you know when she will arrive?" I'm not sure. Perhaps she will arrive today. Perhaps she will arrive the day after tomorrow. Perhaps she will not stop at Purple Cloud Island at all, heading directly to the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market. All these are possible. There are so many possibilities. In that case, there is no need to wait here." Xiao Chen picked up his wine cup and drained it in one go. Then, he placed down an astral coin and prepared to depart for the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market. "Everyone, quickly go to the west of the city. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter is here and has already opened her stall. Brothers, if you have any hidden injuries or internal injuries, go quickly. Otherwise, it will be a pity if you are late." Suddenly, a cultivator rushed into the inn's hall and shouted excitedly. The hall was silent for a while before it turned chaotic. The cultivators at the various tables tossed down their money and rushed to the door. Bang! In an instant, the spacious door was directly burst open, and the bustling inn was quickly emptied. Xiao Chen was flabbergasted. This was too exaggerated. Actually, if one thought about it carefully, it was not exaggerated at all. A cultivator's life would always be accompanied by pain. More or less, they would leave behind internal injuries and hidden injuries that they did not know about. Xiao Chen himself had been injured many times. However, his physical body was strong, reaching peak rank 4 sage body. He was confident that he would not leave behind any hidden injuries. The same could not be said for other cultivators. If they did not get rid of their hidden injuries, when they flared up, they would become a stubborn disease. No matter how good the spirit pills and miraculous medicines were, they would not be able to treat them. Aside from internal injuries and hidden injuries, there were also people who suffered setbacks when cultivating. Their meridians were in chaos. Now, there was a person who could treat people's injuries for free. Furthermore, his medical skills had reached great heights. It would be strange if they did not fight to the death over him. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and leaped out of the window. Then, he somersaulted beautifully in the air and landed on the roof of the inn's top floor. Western part of the city, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Then, he unfurled the freedom wings and looked towards the western part of the city. Many scenes flashed before Xiao Chen's eyes like a movie. The big streets and small alleys, the sky and the ground, were all filled with cultivators rushing towards the western part of the city. The scene stopped. In front of a pavilion by a lake in the western part of the city, many young girls in their prime stood in 2 rows, maintaining order. They all had graceful figures and pretty appearances. The young girls all had smiles on their faces, and their auras were ethereal. All of them had a gentle beauty like the moon, giving people a good impression of them. However, all of them were incredibly strong. When Xiao Chen saw this, he felt startled. Unexpectedly, all of these 10-odd young girls were martial sages. There were also several arrogant young men with outstanding auras standing in front of the pavilion, helping to maintain order. These should be the outstanding talents who had come to follow the Lunar Palace's holy daughter because of her fame. There were not many cultivators in front of the pavilion yet. However, after a while, the small path in front of the lake would be filled with cultivators who had heard the news. So close yet worlds apart. Xiao Chen took a step forward and silently crossed 5 kilometers. Then he drifted down from the sky. Then he landed in front of most of the cultivators and quietly lined up at the back of the line, which was not very long. The order of the place was very good. There was no clamor or noise. Every time a person stepped forward, a red rope would descend from the elegant pavilion and tie it to the cultivator's wrist. After the red rope was withdrawn, the young girls standing on both sides would receive instructions to inform the cultivator of the diagnosis. If there were ready-made medicinal pills, they would give them. If there were none, they would leave behind the medicinal pill recipe. This was very efficient. However, Xiao Chen could not help feeling disappointed. Originally, he thought that by lining up for treatment, he would be able to personally see this famous holy daughter. However, when he arrived, he realized that this holy daughter did not show herself at all. Chapter 1050. Xiao Chen's interest waned. He had the intention to leave. He was very confident in his body. He did not have any internal injuries or hidden illnesses. Since he could not see this woman, there was no point in continuing to line up. "It's your turn. What are you waiting for?" A melodious voice rang out. Just as Xiao Chen was thinking this, he suddenly discovered that the line in front of him was already full. The various outstanding talents in front of the pavilion all revealed displeased expressions as they looked at Xiao Chen, who was distracted. They thought that he was here to cause trouble. A few of them even had a faint baleful aura in their eyes. If Xiao Chen was really here to cause trouble, they would not mind teaching him a lesson. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. He could only go up and go through the motions. Otherwise, there would be some small trouble. Xiao Chen stepped forward and stretched out his wrist. A red string carrying a medicinal fragrance flew over from the pavilion. Whoosh! It tied itself to his wrist and tied a knot. Xiao Chen looked at the red string. However, a screen blocked his view. Even his spiritual sense could only see a mist. He could not see the holy daughter's appearance behind the mist. Xiao Chen felt a cool and refreshing energy flow through his body. Then the red string bounced back. The diagnosis was complete. However, unexpectedly, after a long time, no young girl came out from either side. No one came out to tell Xiao Chen the results of the diagnosis. There was also no medicinal pill or pill recipe for him. The others whispered to each other, not knowing what was going on. However, Xiao Chen was very clear. He did not have any hidden injuries or internal injuries. Why would they give him the medicinal pill or pill recipe? Sorry for the interruption. It looks like my body is fine. There are no hidden injuries or hidden injuries. After giving the pavilion a deep look, Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute and prepared to take his leave. He had only come here to join in on the excitement. There was nothing else to see, so naturally, there was no need to stay. You are really interesting. The Holy Daughter said that your illness is beyond cure. Even a divine doctor cannot save you. We were just hesitating on whether to tell you or not. A young girl laughed coquettishly, saying something that Xiao Chen would never have thought of. Beyond cure? How could that be? Xiao Chen's physical body had been tempered and tempered several times, going through many trials and suffering 1,000 kinds of pain. After consuming 100 drops of dragon marrow, he had attained a peak rank 4 sage body. How could he be so sick that even a divine doctor couldn't save him? Young master, you still have 10 years to live. If you have any wishes, you should do them as soon as possible, said the pretty attendant softly. She also had a look of pity on her face. Xiao Chen found it a little funny. The more he said, the more ridiculous he became. He even said that he only had 10 more years to live. Perhaps the Lunar Palace's holy daughter was only SOS. Just look at the so-called outstanding talents in front of the pavilion. They only had appearances and were not worth mentioning. Perhaps there were no experts in the entire heavenly starry ocean. At the very least, there were no eye-catching people in the same generation. How unfortunate! At such a young age, this white-robed person is already a grandmaster-level martial sage. Clearly, he is an outstanding talent of a noble clan. He can be considered a hero. Unexpectedly, he only has 10 more years to live. A hero? Perhaps he is overexerting himself and does not know the principle of progressing step by step. That's why he fell sick. Furthermore, he does not know that and came to the Lunar Palace's holy daughter to join in the fun. That's true. Based on his appearance, he does not look like he is here to treat his injuries. He probably thinks that his cultivation is pretty good and that he can gain the holy daughter's favor. Who knew? The Lunar Palace's holy daughter would see through his hidden illness with one glance. Serves him right. The cultivators waiting in line all had expressions of schadenfreude in their tones. When they saw a cultivator who was far more outstanding than them only have 10 more years to live, they would definitely feel some joy. I wonder where this white-robed person came from. Based on his scholarly appearance, he might be from a Confucian noble clan near the Heavenly Province Academy. I have never heard of such a person in the Heavenly Province Academy. Even some of the more famous Confucian noble clans do not have such a person. He probably came from a small clan. That should be the case. He does not seem to have any righteous chi on him. His clan probably used him as a sacrificial pawn. He still does not realize it, thinking that he can become a dragon in one leap. There were all sorts of discussions. It seemed like they all agreed with the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. The holy daughter said that Xiao Chen only had 10 more years to live, so he really would not live past that. The 4 youths in front of the pavilion all rejoiced in Xiao Chen's misfortune. With one glance, they could tell that Xiao Chen was not really here to seek treatment. They felt that Xiao Chen's true purpose was the same as theirs, just to get close to the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. Xiao Chen gently closed the folding fan in his hand and smiled faintly. Then, he prepared to turn and leave. Young master, please wait. The holy daughter still has something to say. If you are willing to cripple your cultivation and become an ordinary person, I can lend you the Lunar Palace's longevity art. I can lend young master the Lunar Palace's longevity art. I guarantee that young master will live to 100. Xiao Chen originally had a smile on his face. Now, his expression sank completely. This was really never-ending. These people really could say anything. Now, they actually wanted him to cripple his cultivation. There should be a limit to the nonsense they spouted, all right? Xiao Chen stopped walking and turned around with the white folding fan in his hand. Young master, have you made up your mind? If you are really willing to cripple your cultivation, I can let young master read 3 chapters of the Lunar Palace's longevity art. When the delicate girl who spoke saw Xiao Chen turn around, she thought that he had changed his mind. She repeated what she said earlier. Her tone was gentle, but her posture contained a kind of aloof arrogance. It was as if letting Xiao Chen read the first 3 chapters of the longevity art was already a great kindness and charity. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Actually, I am also somewhat skilled in medicine. When the Holy Daughter took my pulse, she concluded that I have 10 more years to live. It is impolite not to reciprocate. I will also take the Holy Daughter's pulse and see if she is in a delirious state. You are so young, yet you are already speaking nonsense." The moment Xiao Chen said that, everyone's expressions changed drastically. The Lunar Palace's Holy Daughter held an esteemed position and a high prestige. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen dared to question the Lunar Palace's Holy Daughter, speaking rudely. She gave you kindness and saved your life. Not only did you not feel grateful, but you even slandered the Holy Daughter. How bold! Where did this wild brat come from? Why don't you look at where you are? How dare you behave atrociously here? A dark-skinned youth in blue among the 4 outstanding talents in front of the pavilion drew his sword in anger. Then he charged at Xiao Chen while emitting killing chi. The people on the left and right reacted too slowly. They could not help but curse this brat for being too shrewd. This was an opportunity to show off, yet this fellow snatched it away. Without hesitation, the 3 of them attacked together, charging at Xiao Chen. Ha! The 4 strongest youths of our Purple Cloud Island are attacking together. This brat is dead for sure. It is good that he is dead. He even dares to speak rudely to the Holy Daughter. Serves him right. In any case, he will not live for more than 10 years. It is all the same if he dies earlier or later. A small clan is indeed a small clan. They have not seen much of the world and think that Grandmaster-level martial sages are incredible. They do not know that Grandmaster-level martial sages are divided into the strong and the weak. Our Southern Sea does not need too many young Grandmaster-level martial sages like him. The girl who tried to console Xiao Chen frowned slightly when she saw the 4 outstanding talents of Purple Cloud Island surging with killing chi. However, she did not say anything in the end. Xiao Chen's words were simply too overboard. It turned out that they were cultivators of Purple Cloud Island. No wonder they were Grandmaster-level martial sages. No wonder they were not even comparable to the elite disciples of the Sun Palace in Xiao Chen's opinion. Grandmaster-level martial sages were indeed divided into the strong and the weak. However, these 4 people before Xiao Chen clearly belonged to the weakest category. Wherever they went, any Grandmaster-level martial sage would beat them into kneeling and begging for mercy. The phrase, "not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth," referred to these 4 people. Xiao Chen opened his folding fan. He did not use the strength of the blue-robed emperor, only that of a Grandmaster-level martial sage. The instant he opened his folding fan, a layer of frost spread out from under Xiao Chen's feet. Crystalline white snowflakes drifted down from the sky. Proud of the snow, bullying the frost, the 1,000 frost will not submit. Xiao Chen waved his folding fan, and thousands of strands of cold saber chi soared up from the ground. These strands of saber chi carried a stubborn pride as they swept out. The 4 outstanding talents of Purple Cloud Island bore the brunt of the attack. The saber chi covered their bodies in wounds, and their auras scattered. They fell to the ground in sorry states. When their wounds came into contact with them, they immediately cried out miserably in pain. The young girls on both sides received a significant blow as well, getting knocked back and dealing with the strands of saber chi in a fluster. If Xiao Chen had not suppressed his strength, this 1,000 frost battle snow would have wiped out everyone before him. However, Xiao Chen did not have a huge grudge against Xiao Chen. It was just that he was angered by the other party's nonsense and the other party's expression of gratitude. Xiao Chen only wanted to vent his anger. He had not thought of killing anyone. Taking advantage of the flustered crowd, Xiao Chen closed his folding fan and switched it to his left hand. Then, he casually pulled out a strand of hair with his right hand. Xiao Chen flicked his finger, and a boundless saber chi appeared. The strand of hair gave off a crystalline light as it extended towards the screen in the pavilion with an unparalleled aura. Behind the screen was an elegant, fairy-like woman who was as ethereal as the moon. She wore snow-white clothes as she sat behind an elegant, red wooden table. The red string in her hand shot out unhurriedly, piercing through the screen. In a thousandth of a second, it clashed with Xiao Chen's strand of hair. Bang! The two clashed. To the white-clad woman's surprise, the strand of hair pierced through her red string, making it look like a piece of bamboo, exploding into pieces. A strong saber intent spread out in all directions. The flower vases, trees, and all the other exquisite decorations in the pavilion instantly shattered into dust. However, it was clear that Xiao Chen had held back. Otherwise, it would not just be these flower vases that shattered but the entire pavilion. The shock on the white-clad woman's face had just passed when she discovered that the strand of hair had already wrapped around her wrist, gently knotting it. A middle-aged woman with an extremely strong aura hid in the shadows behind the white-clad woman. When she saw this, she wanted to make a move to break the strand of hair. After the white-clad woman recovered from her shock, she smiled faintly and waved her hand to stop the other party. After a while, a cold chi flowed through the strand of hair and traveled through the various acupoints of the white-clad woman's body, paying special attention to several acupoints in the brain. The woman felt startled in her heart. Based on the location of the cold chi traveling through the acupoints, it was clearly an extremely profound pulse-reading technique. Furthermore, it was very different from current medical techniques. Chapter 1051. Outside the pavilion, Xiao Chen tapped his hair with 4 fingers in a certain rhythm. Time slowly passed. Xiao Chen's expression turned increasingly grave, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. The Lunar Palace disciples in front had more or less dealt with the frost saber chi binding them. Xiao Chen showed a sullen expression. He could not even be bothered with the strand of hair in his hand. He tossed it aside and left, not willing to stay a moment longer, clearly preoccupied. Damn. This fellow really took the pulse of the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. He profaned the holy daughter. We can't let him escape. No one had expected Xiao Chen to take the pulse of the fairy-like person in their hearts. All of them immediately flew into a rage, surrounding Xiao Chen as he turned to leave. The earlier anger vanished without a trace. Xiao Chen just wanted to leave. He threw out his folding fan and danced around him. The bright moon in the fan, the small bridge, and the flowing water seemed to appear in the real world. The gentle moon, the clear water, and the fluttering folding fan. Xiao Chen stood on a small bridge, gradually moving further away. No one could stop him for even a moment. Inside the pavilion, a strand of black hair wound around the index finger of the white-clad woman. She stood up and went to the window. As she watched Xiao Chen walk away on the moon and the bridge, her pretty eyes revealed a contemplative look. The bright moon hung high in the sky, and his white robes fluttered. Xiao Chen stepped on the moonlight and rode the bridge back. The road in front of the lake was in chaos. The people who blocked Xiao Chen all suffered significant injuries. Xiao Chen, who was in a rush to leave with a heavy heart, did not control his strength well, resulting in several severe injuries. The female Lunar Palace disciples moved about, checking on the injuries and treating them. Chaos reigned everywhere. The white-clad woman in front of the pavilion frowned slightly. The beautiful middle-aged woman with an outstanding aura behind her stepped forward and whispered, "Bingyun, this person is an expert. He might have hidden his cultivation." Yu Bingyun felt it was strange. She asked, "In Aunt Bai's eyes, he is an expert as well?" The beautiful, noble, and graceful Auntie Bai smiled and said, "It's just a feeling. This person is definitely someone with a story. Unfortunately, 10 years are about to pass, and the heavens are jealous of him." Yu Bingyun lowered her head and looked at the strand of fine black hair wrapped around her index finger. she said softly, it is possible that he is the person we are looking for? Really? The woman Yu Bingyun addressed as Aunt Bai paled somewhat. Whether it is true or not, we still have to ask him in person. Even if he did not leave his name, I have never heard of this person in the heavenly starry ocean. Judging from his attire, I wonder if the Heavenly Province Academy's young master Qin Shu knows him? Yu Bingyun looked at the strand of hair between her fingers, feeling that it was a pity. Suddenly, she looked up from the window and saw a figure rushing over in the distance at lightning speed. He was like a soaring true dragon, stepping on the auspicious clouds and withdrawing the strong winds. His roar was like the roar of a true dragon, reverberating in all directions. The many injured cultivators below immediately recognized him. They could not help but reveal astonished expressions. It's the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master, Hai Tian. Indeed, when the Lunar Palace's holy daughter arrived at Purple Cloud Island, the outstanding talents of the Southern Sea will definitely come after hearing the news. The Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace was a huge faction of the Southern Sea. When Neptune was still around, it was even stronger than the immortal Holy Land's Zodiac Hall. Naturally, the purpose of the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master was self-evident. He was here for the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, Yu Bingyun. Suddenly, a flickering lightning-attributed flame lit up in the western sky. A lightning-attributed flame tore through the sky and headed for the pavilion as well. The young master of an ancient noble clan, the scion of the Gongsun clan, Gongsun Yen. A strong wind blew in the northern sky. A berserk aura spread out together with the strong wind. Everyone could feel a prideful aura that looked down on the world. It's another ancient noble clan, the scion of the Shangguan clan, Shangguan Yun. Soundlessly, a person flew over from the east. He didn't seem to be making any big movements, but as he moved, the sky behind him moved forward bit by bit, giving off an oppressive feeling, as if the might of the heavens were descending. The scion of the Xia clan is here as well. The many cultivators on the ground erupted with excitement. In such a short time, nearly all the factions of the Southern Sea that could rival the immortal Holy Lands had arrived. This was a true outstanding talent. The 4 people from Purple Cloud Island were far inferior compared to him. The reputation of the Lunar Palace's holy daughter filled the sky with boundless charm. Just as everyone thought that this was the end, something happened in the central sky. A dazzling golden sun slowly descended, overshadowing the radiance of the blazing sun. Beside him, there was a full moon. The sun and the moon descended together, and the sun and moon shone together, illuminating the surroundings. With such an obvious mysterious phenomenon, no one in the Southern Sea would not know. This was the holy sun of the Southern Sea's immortal Holy Land, the Zodiac Hall's holy daughter, Fu Hongyao. One was the top true inheritor of the Sun Palace, and the other was the top true inheritor of the Moon Palace. They were the most outstanding talents of the same generation in the Southern Sea. This was especially so for the holy son Chu Yang. He had been in closed-door cultivation for the past few years. His strength was unfathomable. Rumor had it that the location of his closed-door cultivation was the blazing sun. The palace master of the Zodiac Hall, the Prime Emperor Wu Jinshuani, personally guarded him. The moment the sun and moon appeared, the auras of the others immediately paled in comparison to the two, becoming slightly inferior. As the group approached the pavilion in front of the lake, they seemed to come to a tacit understanding and scattered their auras, withdrawing their sharpness. This was a show of respect for the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. They did not act presumptuously. They landed firmly and reported their identities, waiting quietly. The first to land was the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's Hai Tian. When he saw Gongsun Yen, he smiled faintly and said, "It looks like Brother Gongsun's Thunderflame Warbody made a breakthrough again. If you have time, let's exchange pointers." Gongsun Yen smiled calmly and said, "It's easy. However, if Brother Hai Tian wants to exchange pointers, I can accompany you at any time." The two's tone was calm. However, as they spoke, they clashed with each other, giving off a faint smell of gunpowder. "Ha! Brother Hai Tian, I heard that the Blue Dragon King recently killed 2 of the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's blue-robed emperors. Is that true? A strong wind blew, and the scion of the ancient Shangguan clan, Shangguan Yun, landed quietly. He smiled at Hai Tian. The scion of the Xia clan, Xia Hanfeng, who wanted to arrive with heaven's might, had just landed. When he heard this, he also looked at Hai Tian curiously. The news of the Blue Dragon King Shaochen killing 2 of the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's blue-robed emperors had spread like wildfire. These outstanding talents were all curious as to whether this was true or not. Hai Tian felt stifled, and anger appeared on his face. Just as he did not know how to answer, he saw the holy sons and holy daughters of Zodiac Hall land together. Hai Tian raised his eyebrows, and his lips curled up. He said, "Shangguan Yun, I think you should go and ask Chu Yang." The Blue Dragon King nearly disfigured Fu Hongyao with one punch during his king conferral ceremony. Is there such a thing? Shangguan Yun glared at Hai Tian. Only a fool would mention this matter to Chu Yang. When Chu Yang and Fu Hongyao landed in front of the pavilion, they acted like they had not heard what Shangguan Yun said and headed straight for the doors. Friends, the holy daughter is startled today, and the pavilion is in a mess. Aside from Miss Red Yao, it is not convenient for the other young masters to meet. The Lunar Palace's female disciple standing guard at the doors said apologetically to the group. Fu Hongyao was acquainted with the Lunar Palace's holy daughter in the first place. Naturally, Yu Bingyun would not reject Fu Hongyao. Under the gazes of the others, Fu Hongyao entered the pavilion. The holy daughter is startled? Could it be that someone dares to cause trouble in the pavilion of the Lunar Palace's holy daughter? When the group saw the chaotic scene of the Lunar Palace's disciples treating the injured in the crowd, their expressions sank. That might be the case. After asking around, the expressions of Hai Tian and the others changed drastically. How audacious! Where did this fellow come from? To think that he does not know the immensity of the heavens and earth, even daring to take the holy daughter's pulse. Hai Tian said angrily. The expressions of Shangguan Yun and the others were unsightly as well. Yu Bingyun being profaned in their Southern Sea was a slap to the faces of all the outstanding talents of the Southern Sea. In the future, during the Four Seas Hero Gathering, the many outstanding talents of the other sea domains would definitely mock them in Bright Moon City because of this. We have to find this person. Otherwise, we will lose a lot of face. Shangguan Yun, who was at odds with Hai Tian, said, something that he rarely did. Naturally, the others did not mind. This was both a good and a bad thing. In this day and age, no one could truly profane the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. How could they miss out on such an opportunity to show off before the holy daughter? The few of them acted in concert with their words. However, they were all thinking about how to obtain the greatest benefits for themselves in this matter. Only Chu Yang of the Zodiac Hall remained silent. He simply could not think of anyone in the heavenly starry ocean who dared to profane Yu Bingyun. Could it be someone from the Black Sea? That's not right. There is no such person in the Black Sea. If there were, I would definitely know who it was. Perhaps this matter is not as simple as it appears on the surface. Thousands of meters away, at the top floor of an inn, 3 or 4 dissolute cultivators with evil auras sat at a table by the window. They all had smiles on their faces as they looked at the pavilion from afar. In the entire history of the Lunar Palace, even back to the time of Neptune, only one holy daughter has ever fallen in love with a mortal. These people are really delusional. What outstanding talent! They look bright and awe-inspiring. But in front of a woman, you've become so timid and polite. You don't deserve to be called a prodigy at all. That brother in white is still the best. He suits my taste. Since ancient times, he is the only one who dared to forcefully take the pulse of the holy daughter. I wonder if second brother can catch up to this person? I really want to make friends with him. He definitely can. Second brother's movement technique is excellent. The same thing had a different result in the eyes of different people. At this moment, Shaochen clearly did not know what kind of ripples his impromptu actions had caused. However, even if he knew, he would not care too much about it, given how preoccupied he was. Shaochen flew all the way out of Purple Cloud Island. After traveling for an unknown distance, he stopped before a lone island. The folding fan fluttered as Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and grasped it. The bright moon, the bridge, and the flowing water were no longer there. His figure drifted over and landed on the tallest peak of the island. Standing at the summit, Xiao Chen looked at the boundless sea. He frowned heavily, thinking about something. "Xiao Chen, what's wrong?" Ao Jiao had long noticed that something was wrong with Xiao Chen's expression, so she could not help asking. Xiao Chen gently fanned himself and said that Lunar Palace's holy daughter did not speak nonsense. At the very least, there was no need for her to do so. The longevity art is indeed a holy manual for maintaining one's health. It is worthy of such a grand display. Chapter 1052. That is to say, you misunderstood her? Ao Jiao smiled. Then she suddenly reacted and said, "That's impossible. How can you only have 10 years of lifespan? After you break through to the blue-robed emperor, your lifespan will increase to 1,000 years. Xiao Chen thought for a while before replying. Lifespan is divided into two types. One is natural lifespan, and the other is physiological lifespan. Natural lifespan is easy to understand. Ordinary people's natural lifespan is 70 or 80 years. As cultivators break through their cultivation realms, their natural lifespan will increase. Physiological lifespan is the lifespan of the body. Normally speaking, the two are the same. However, sometimes there are accidents that cause the physiological lifespan to exceed the natural lifespan by too much. She is 20 years old, but her body is that of a 70 or 80-year-old. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter should be referring to my physiological lifespan. Ao Jiao felt that this was incredible. She asked doubtfully, "What exactly did you see when you took the holy daughter's pulse for you to change so much?" When Xiao Chen recalled that scene, he was still deeply shocked. After a long time, he said, "Her physiological lifespan is like that of a baby. If there are no accidents, she will remain like that for the next 10 years. How can that be? She looks like she is at least 20 years old." Xiao Chen did not believe it either. However, that aura could not be wrong. The alchemy section of the Compendium of Cultivation had some knowledge of medicine. The pulse-taking technique recorded there could not be wrong. It was precisely because of this that Xiao Chen started to take the Lunar Palace's holy daughter's words seriously, no longer treating them as nonsense. After Xiao Chen calmed down and thought about it, he realized that the other party did not know him, so there was no need for her to speak nonsense. It would not do her any good. After that, he used this pulse-taking technique to check his physiological lifespan. Although it looked strong, the physiological lifespan of a peak rank 4 sage body did indeed have less than 10 years left. Xiao Chen had never thought about this problem before. The alchemy section of the Compendium of Cultivation only had a brief introduction to this, so he had not paid much attention to it. Ao Jiao came to a realization and said, "I think I know what the problem is. There's a problem with your physical body cultivation. You endured all kinds of pain and tempered your body thousands of times. When your physical body improved by leaps and bounds, you didn't pay attention to the way to nourish your body." Xiao Chen's physical body cultivation was indeed somewhat horrifying. At such a young age, he had already attained a peak rank 4 sage body. Xiao Chen had started cultivating his physical body in the heavenly saber pavilion from the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. If he calculated the time, it had been less than 10 years. However, in the past 10 years, he had not done anything to nourish his body. Instead, he had used heavenly materials and earthly treasures to nourish his body. This was also because he had never met a true master on his path of cultivation. Ao Jiao had a lot of experience, but the Thunder King did not cultivate his corporeal body and knew very little about this aspect, so he could not help Xiao Chen. Back when Xiao Chen first advanced to Martial Monarch, he had to refine his quintessence twice for each minor realm, enduring boundless pain. That path established the purity of Xiao Chen's quintessence. Even after he converted it to heavenly sage laws, his quintessence was still much denser than that of cultivators of the same generation. However, the damage to his body would be immense. At that time, Xiao Chen felt that he would be fine once he endured it. Going further, when Xiao Chen was in the lower realm, he had rashly used the strength character formula. 33-fold combat prowess was heaven-defying. As an inferior-grade martial monarch, he had forced back a martial sage. Perhaps at that time, the seeds of danger had already been planted. Now, looking at the myriad heaven-divine fist, deities descending, Xiao Chen had been using the 10-fold combat prowess wantonly. He had probably unknowingly drained his physiological lifespan. 10-fold combat prowess, 33-fold combat prowess. Such heaven-defying existences should have a price. Suddenly, Xiao Chen recalled that in his previous life, there had also been a heaven-defying martial arts expert on Earth. At a young age, he had been unrivaled, famous throughout the world. However, he had died young and mysteriously. There was a rumor that he had cultivated excessively, undergoing too much cruel training. The two remained silent. After a while, Xiao Chen recovered his emotions. He smiled and said, "It's fine. It is not too late to understand now. At the very least, I know of 2 ways to salvage the situation." Which 2? Naturally, the first is the Lunar Palace's longevity art. Unfortunately, that is the Lunar Palace's sacred canon. Outsiders can only read 3 chapters at most. It is impossible to read the entire book. Hence, there was no need to even think about the first method. How could the Lunar Palace lend its inherited sacred canon to outsiders? Snatching it was even more impossible. The Lunar Palace had many experts. It would be better to just marry a holy daughter. As for the second method, there is no need to beg others. It is my own blue dragon body nourishing art. Now that I think about it, I somewhat understand why this body tempering cultivation technique is called the body nourishing art and not the body tempering art. The foundation of the body tempering art is clearly to nourish the body. When Ao Jiao heard this, she smiled and said, "Really? So, you already thought of this solution long ago?" "You startled me." Xiao Chen smiled helplessly in his heart. Although that was what he said, he had exhausted too much of his physiological lifespan. It had already reached a point where it could not be reversed. Even if the blue dragon body nourishing art was useful, it might be too late to realize it now. Xiao Chen was not sure. However, he did not want Ao Jiao to worry too much, so he purposely said this. The most reliable solution was still the Lunar Palace's longevity art. Just at this moment, the sound of something tearing came from behind. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and turned around to look. Xiao Chen saw a stout, dark-skinned man giving off a ruffian aura quickly flying towards him. Xiao Chen did not see any killing chi from this person or any killing intent in his eyes. Instead, he had a strange expression. How should Xiao Chen put it? This expression was one of worship. Xiao Chen felt suspicious. However, he kept his guard up and let the stout man fly in front of him. Brother, your speed is extraordinarily fast. If we had not paused on this island for a while, I would have lost you." The dark-skinned man stopped and laughed heartily. Xiao Chen smiled to himself. This person is really straightforward. I wonder why he is following me all the way here? Brother, I think very highly of you. Come with me to kidnap the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. The stout man said seriously just as Xiao Chen thought this. Xiao Chen could not help but want to laugh. This person could no longer be described as straightforward. If not for this stout man being stronger than that Sun Palace elite disciple, Xiao Chen would have thought that he had run into a madman. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter could not be casually kidnapped. Not to mention the holy daughter, Xiao Chen also sensed a great perfection blue-robed emperor expert by her side. If Xiao Chen managed to kidnap her, given the Lunar Palace's reputation, there would be no place for him in the entire heavenly starry ocean. Furthermore, the Lunar Palace disciples all had secret techniques to protect themselves. There would be no benefit in kidnapping such a person. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen still smiled and said, "Brother, thank you for thinking so highly of me. However, I do not have such ambitions. Furthermore, I still have important matters to attend to. You will have to find someone else for such a big matter." The dark-skinned man revealed an expression of extreme regret. He said, "How unfortunate. Many people of the righteous and righteous factions want to do something but cannot. Brother, you managed to do it easily. It is too unfortunate that you do not join us." The stout man did not give up. He continued to try to persuade Xiao Chen to do great things with him. Finally, when he saw Xiao Chen's firm attitude, he smiled helplessly and said, "Brother has things to do, so I will not insist. However, with one look I can tell that brother is a kindred spirit. Tell me your name, and if you have time in the future, come to the Black Sea. I, Batu, will definitely take good care of you." The Black Sea? Xiao Chen felt excited. That was the place with the richest resources in the entire oceanic world. It was precisely because of the Black Sea that the many major factions of the heavenly starry ocean did not care about the resources of the starry heavens. To them, the resources of the Black Sea were an inexhaustible treasure trove. There was no need for them to go to the starry heavens. However, the Black Sea was also a place for great bandits and peak loose cultivators. This Batu before Xiao Chen did not look like a loose cultivator. He did not have the baleful aura of a loose cultivator. He should be the descendant of a famous great bandit. Xiao Chen was willing to befriend such a person. He smiled and said, "I am Mo Yun. We will meet again in the future." For a very long time, Mo Yun would be Xiao Chen's alias when he traveled the heavenly starry ocean. Batu watched as Xiao Chen flew in the direction of the 10,000 treasures sea market. Only when Xiao Chen's figure disappeared did he turn his head back. He still had an expression of pity on his face. A sea market, a market on the sea, referred to a cultivator's market that existed only in the oceanic world. There were many sea markets of various sizes in the Southern Sea. However, the most famous one had to be the 10,000 treasure sea market. Xiao Chen followed the sea map and walked on the water. His white robes and folding fan made him look unremarkable in the vast sea. As Xiao Chen got closer to the 10,000 treasure sea market, the number of cultivators he met increased. These people were in groups of 2 or 3, discussing the upcoming 10,000 treasure festival. Not only were there auctions for the various levels, but there were also professional auctions, such as secret treasure auctions, medicinal pill auctions, spirit weapon auctions, and so on. Aside from these, there were also all sorts of appraisal sessions. If one had good judgment and a good character, one might be able to obtain some pleasant surprises. The biennial 10,000 Treasure Festival was considered a grand event in the Southern Sea. Many cultivators would rush over. Xiao Chen did not travel very fast. After half a month, he finally saw the landmark of the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market. A gigantic statue stood on the surface of the vast sea. Its upper body was above the water, and it was tens of thousands of zhang tall. The statue was dressed like an immortal cultivator from the immortal epic. It wore Buddhist robes, and 4 carefree scarves floated above its head. The statue's left hand was stretched out in the air, and 2 fingers of its right hand formed a sword. The statue stared into the distance, piercing through space and the barrier of the sky as it looked at the distant starry heavens. The statue seemed to be forming some kind of hand seal, giving the impression that a living person had suddenly petrified after being magnified countless times. The statue froze in the river of time, trapped for a lifetime. This kind of scene could only be seen from a very far distance. However, when one got closer, one would not be able to see it clearly because it was too vast and tall. The entire 10,000 Treasure Sea Market was made up of thousands of islands of various sizes around the statue. The core island was the palm of the statue. That was a city, and the peak auctions were held there. Merchant ships stood in great numbers, and the flags of thousands of merchant associations fluttered in the wind. It was bustling, noisy, and vast. This was the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market. Chapter 1053. Xiao Chen had a clear goal. He flew towards 10,000 Treasure City. The instant he flew into the air, he felt a formless pressure. This pressure came from the statue itself. Without the strength of a martial sage, one would not even be qualified to step into this 10,000 Treasure City. The higher Xiao Chen flew, the greater the pressure. If he wanted to reach the top of the statue, he would have to be at least as strong as the blue-robed emperor. Naturally, just flying to the top of the 10,000 Treasure City did not pose any pressure to Xiao Chen. The mysterious pressure was no different from air to him. In just an instant, Xiao Chen arrived above the palm. When he looked down, he could see the entire bustling and exquisite 10,000 treasure city. There was a palace on each of the 5 fingers of the statue. The 5 city lords of 10,000 treasure city resided in these palaces. The palace on the thumb was the most magnificent and vast. That was the residence of the top city lord, the treasure master. The treasure master's identity was mysterious and venerated. He traveled everywhere and rarely showed himself. Right now, his grandson was in charge of all major and minor matters. The one on the pinky finger was the 5th city lord, the one on the ring finger was the 4th city lord, the one on the index finger was the 3rd city lord, and the one on the middle finger was the 2nd city lord. He broke through the might of 10,000 treasure city in one breath. At such a young age, he already has an overwhelming wealth chi. This is a very important guest. Ziying, go and entertain him personally. Do not delay him. Do your best to pull all his business into the merchant association we control. An old man in the palace on the pinky finger suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze penetrated 50 kilometers and clearly saw the white-clad Xiaochen. This person seems to be only a grandmaster-level martial sage. Is there a need to send your daughter out personally? The girl named Ziying felt somewhat suspicious. Several great grandmaster-level martial sages and even the blue-robed emperor had appeared, but her father had not even opened his eyes. Hurry up and go. If you wait any longer, when the other city lords react, you won't have this chance anymore. The old man smiled gently. His tone was gentle, but it contained a strong might. This was not an order, but it was irresistible. Ziying rejoiced in her heart. When her father said this, it would definitely be right. Aside from the mysterious treasure master, the other 4 city lords were all merchant associations from outside. An evaluation would be held every 10 years, and if the profits that the Chamber of Commerce brought to the treasure city were too low, they would lose the right to be the city lord. This was the rule set by the treasure master. No matter how strong the merchant association's backing was, it still had to obediently follow the rules when it came to the 10,000 treasure sea market. The profits of the 9 Cauldron Pavilions branch in Treasure City had been declining for the past few years. It had fallen once every 10 years, and it had already fallen from the 2nd-ranked city lord to the 5th-ranked. If it continued to drop like this, she would probably lose her right to be the 5th city lord. A large order could reduce the pressure on Ziying. Without any warning, just as Xiaochen was about to land, a 7-colored bridge extended from the distance to Xiaochen's feet. Rainbow light flickered. A gorgeous rainbow bridge stretched across the sky. It was beautiful to the extreme. 5-colored heavenly flowers floated down from the sky. Many pairs of eyes in the treasure city below immediately looked up into the sky. 5-colored heavenly flowers and a 7-colored rainbow bridge. It was unknown which esteemed guest had been intercepted by one of the 5 city lords and received with the highest form of etiquette. The cultivators in the city were all martial sages at the very least. When they infused their mental energy into their eyes, they could clearly see Xiaochen, who was very far away. This person wore white robes and held a white fan. He looked delicate and pretty, no more than 30 years old. He was a grandmaster-level martial sage. When one looked carefully at this person's face, no one had heard of him before. Several people immediately felt suspicious. How could an unknown outstanding talent receive such a grand reception from the 9 Cauldron Pavilion? The 9 Cauldron Pavilion probably misjudged him again. His business has been declining for the past few years. After this 10,000 treasure festival, he will probably lose his position as the city lord. Such mockery rang out continuously in the treasure city. The 9 Cauldron Pavilion had definitely misjudged him by receiving a grandmaster-level martial sage with such a grand reception. They would become a laughingstock and become the joke of this 10,000 treasure festival. When Xiaochen heard Ao Jiao's explanation as he faced the 7-colored bridge, he roughly understood what was going on. This was really strange. Despite being a grandmaster-level martial sage and not being famous, he could cause such a huge commotion. This was fine as well. With someone to receive him, he could save himself some trouble. Xiaochen was somewhat confident in the ability of the Foundation returning art to hide his cultivation. As long as he ran into some special secret treasures, it would be hard for him to be discovered. Even if he was discovered, it would not matter. With the peak Thunder Dragon steps and the Freedom Wings, he was confident of leaving easily even if Emperor Wu came personally. A pretty girl arrived on the bridge. This was the manager of the 9 Cauldron Pavilion in the Treasure City, Ziying. This lady is Ziying, the manager of 10,000 City's 9 Cauldron Pavilion. Might I ask for young master's name? The girl named Ziying gave off the impression of a capable person with one glance. Her aura was very similar to Ying Qiong's. As Ziying spoke, her actions were very graceful and charming. While she was respectful, she did not give off an overly flattering feeling. Perhaps it was because Ziying's aura was very similar to Ying Qiong's, but Xiao Chen had a very good first impression of this girl. He performed a cupped fist salute as he held the folding fan in his hand and said, "I do not dare to claim my distinguished name. I am Mo Yun. You can just address me casually." The two stood on the 7-colored bridge like it was flat ground. Then, the 7-colored bridge slowly shrank. It carried the two further away, drifting down towards the palace on the pinky finger. After chatting for a while, Ziying felt that Mo Yun's way of speaking was extraordinary. Her father definitely did not misjudge him. It looks like young Master Mo came because of the 10,000 Treasure Festival. I wonder if you have any special requests this time? The 9 Cauldron Pavilion is one of the top 5 merchant associations in 10,000 Treasure City. As for the backer of the 9 Cauldron Pavilion, it is considered a peak merchant association in the entire heavenly starry ocean. After chatting for a while, Ziying moved to the main topic. After a pause, she continued, "If young master has any requests, the 9 Cauldron Pavilion will definitely be able to fulfill them." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and opened his folding fan. "I do indeed have some special requests. I need secret treasures containing dragon souls, in large quantities." Ziying felt somewhat disappointed. Even for peak king-grade secret treasures containing dragon souls, barring special exceptions, they would only be worth tens of millions of astral coins. This was a large order. However, it was still far from the large order that she had anticipated. As for what Xiao Chen said about large quantities, she did not care too much about it. Secret treasures were meant to be used. Cultivators could only use 1 or 2 at most. How large could the quantity be? Even so, Ziying's expression did not change. With her good upbringing, she would not put on a vile expression over such a small matter. However, this time, Ziying had embarrassed herself greatly. The merchant associations of the other 4 city lords would definitely mock her for a long time. Ziying sighed in her heart. Then she smiled and said, "What kind of secret treasures containing dragon souls does young Master Mo need? I'll give you 10 million black astral coins first. Help me purchase them. If you do well, I still have a batch of goods worth tens of millions of black astral coins for you to deal with." Xiao Chen did not know what Ziying was thinking. His tone was calm as he continued speaking. When Ziying heard this, she was slightly stunned even though she was used to seeing big scenes. 10 million black astral coins meant 100 million astral coins. There was still another 100 million black astral coins to sell. Based on Xiao Chen's tone, it sounded like 100 million black astral coins were not enough. This was a huge business deal. After this transaction, the profits from the offerings might be enough for the 9 Cauldron Pavilion to become the 2nd city lord. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Xiao Chen frowned. Dragons were hidden in the depths. The sea hid dragons. It should not be too difficult to collect secret treasures containing dragon souls in the heavenly starry ocean. Ziying smiled and said excitedly, "No, absolutely not. Come, let's go down and discuss in detail." Just at this moment, 3 7-colored bridges streaked across the sky at the same time. Heavenly flowers fell from the sky above 10,000 Treasure City, looking like snowflakes drifting in the air. The glazed lights of various colors illuminated the entire sky. Xiao Chen and Ziying, who were about to descend to the palace on the pinky finger, turned their heads to look. They saw a group of outstanding talents accompanying the Lunar Palace's holy daughter outside 10,000 Treasure City. Everyone there had a bright name. The faction behind them could cause clouds and rain in the southern sea, or even the entire heavenly starry ocean. Whoosh! An even more resplendent and dazzling 9-colored bridge flew through the air, looking very gorgeous. Unexpectedly, the palace on the pinky finger of the treasure master also sent out an invitation, something that was rarely seen. Instantly, the entire 10,000 treasure city stirred. Everyone forgot about the 7-colored bridge that the 9-cauldron pavilion sent out. Clearly, the treasure master's 9-colored bridge was directed at the lunar palace's holy daughter. On the rainbow bridge, 8 divine steeds covered in flames pulled ancient war chariots, slowly moving forward. When the people of the other 4 cities saw the people of the treasure master's residence personally coming out, they smiled faintly and tacitly took a step back. They landed at the back of the golden war chariot and went to welcome the holy daughters group. They glanced at Ziying and a few of them smiled mockingly at her. They laughed at her for making an error in judgment. To think that Ziying treated a grandmaster-level martial sage as a financial backer. What a joke. However, the main character had already changed. The various city lords wanted to rope in the holy daughters group, but they could not do so. They could only rope in 1 or 2 people. A cold-faced youth with an extraordinary aura rode on the golden war chariot. He crossed the 9-colored rainbow bridge and arrived before the lunar palace's holy daughters group. This cold-faced youth was the treasure master's grandson, Yiling. He was now the manager of 10,000 Treasure City. He was currently conversing with the lunar palace's holy daughter. Ziying smiled faintly. Now that she had a major client like Xiaochen, she did not need to care about what others thought of her. All she needed to do was silently make a fortune. When Xiaochen saw Fu Hongyao beside the lunar palace's holy daughter, he was mildly startled. If he guessed right, the man beside her should be the strongest person of the Sun Palace's younger generation. Young Master Mo, we should discuss the details of the secret treasures containing dragon souls, Ziying reminded him in a soft voice with a faint smile. Xiaochen turned his head back and smiled. Let's go then. In the VIP room of the 5th City Lord's residence, Xiaochen first asked around about the market for secret treasures containing dragon souls in the heavenly starry ocean, to see if it was as rumored. The results gave Xiaochen a pleasant surprise. There were hidden dragons in the depths, and the sea hid dragons. This saying was not wrong at all. The secret treasures containing dragon souls in the heavenly starry ocean were much easier to find than in the Kunlun continent. Hence, he had to focus on king-grade secret treasures. I wonder if there will be secret treasures containing true dragon souls in this 10,000 treasure festival. Chapter 1054. Xiaochen asked with some anticipation. Ziying smiled apologetically and said, I don't think so. True dragons are hard to find and nearly extinct. Naturally, a true dragon soul is even harder to find. However, I will ask around. It's fine. Xiaochen waved his hand. He was just asking casually. If there was, it would be a pleasant surprise. If there was none, there was no need to be upset. The two started to discuss the contract. Xiaochen took out the contract that Ziying made and took a look. There were no loopholes in it, so he signed it and handed the 10 million black astral coins to the other party. Ziying rejoiced. With this deal of 10 million black astral coins, the 9-cauldron pavilion would not have to worry about business for half a year. Ziying put away the contract and the black astral coins and took the opportunity to ask, I heard from young Master Mo that you still have a batch of treasures to sell. How about we settle them together? Don't worry. As long as the 9-cauldron pavilion can help me settle this within 1 day, I will definitely hand the treasures I want to sell to your merchant association. Naturally, Xiaochen was not stupid. He had to use something to pressure the other party. Otherwise, if the other party could not do it within 1 day, he would not be able to deal with it. Ziying smiled and took her leave. Before she left, she called over 2 pretty girls with voluptuous figures to serve Xiaochen. Xiaochen waved his hand and got the 2 maidservants to wait outside, waiting for his instructions. Deep into the night, Xiaochen drew his lunar shadow saber in a cultivation room in the courtyard for honored guests. He calmly executed the flawless saber technique, trying to infuse the will of ice into the 4-season saber technique's winter saber. Logically speaking, Xiaochen should not be so calm. On the way to the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market, He had consumed and refined a longevity fruit in his hand. As he expected, the longevity fruit only increased his natural lifespan and not his physiological lifespan. It would not be of any help to his current situation. Right now, if the blue dragon body nourishing art was not effective, 10 years would not be laughable at all. Xiao Chen had not reached the peak yet, had not re-established the Dragon's Gate, had not seen everything in this world, and still had many regrets. How could 10 years be enough? It looks like it will work. In the vast underground cultivation room, Xiao Chen revealed a joyful smile as he watched the destructive power of the first fusion of the Winter Saber and the Will of Ice. He had always been like this. No matter how many regrets he only had 10 years to live. He just had to face it calmly. Life still had to go on. There was no need to bemoan the state of the universe and pity the fate of mankind. There was no need to be depressed and regretful. In these 12 years he had walked many paths, met many people, and made countless choices. He had never regretted any of his choices. There was no other reason. As long as he knew what he wanted, there was no need to be so conflicted. Dressed in white, Xiao Chen was even colder than the snow. His saber was cold, he was cold, but his heart was not cold. He was sharp and hot-blooded. As Xiao Chen's mental state improved, the great perfection saber soul in the will of thunder in his sea of consciousness became increasingly dense. It seemed like it would make another breakthrough soon. Xiao Chen casually stabbed his saber into the ground. Then he started practicing his palm technique, thousand-year flame, amid the heavy snow. This move was Xiao Chen's original creation. When he sent out his palm strike, it showed sorrow and joy, parting and reunions, expressing lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness. He could spread out his comprehensions, his lifetime's lofty sentiments, joy, anger, sorrow, and joy with one palm strike. This palm technique could still evolve in many different ways. Joy, anger, sorrow, joy, parting and reunions. There should be many more ways. For example, at this moment, Xiao Chen thought of parting and the 10-year sorrow. As grief spread through his palm technique clearly deviated from the initial hot-bloodedness, tyranny, and berserk destruction of the thousand-year flame. In its place was a boundless melancholy of parting. A faint grief lingered in Xiao Chen's heart, flowing into his every move. The fluttering of his clothes and hair seemed to speak of melancholy. The cycle banner, which was connected to Xiao Chen's mind, suddenly unfurled in the universe ring. The astral pearl refined by the grief throne shone brightly. The snowflakes were no longer there. Thousands upon thousands of blood-red remnant flowers drifted in the air. The remnant flowers were like blood, filled with grief. A scarlet moon rose up behind Xiao Chen, filling his eyes with a red light. Grief filled everything he saw. Time was like a river, gushing endlessly. There was a moon by the riverside, and a lone boat moved along the river, treading on the moon. Time flowed by. 10,000 years passed. The people on the boat lived and died, changing again and again. Only the moon reigned supreme, only the moon existed. Who saw the moon for the first time by the riverside? When did the moon at the riverside first shine on people? Generations passed by endlessly. The moon at the riverside remained the same every year. Under the illumination of the scarlet moonlight, Xiao Chen's white robes looked very eye-catching among the thousands of scarlet remnant flowers, showing a different kind of grief. Thousand-year death, I have a palm strike that speaks only of sorrow, not joy. With this palm strike, Xiao Chen scattered all his grief and melancholy. He felt carefree, sweeping away all the knots in his heart. The grief on Xiao Chen's body vanished. There seemed to be boundless hope in the faint flowing light, creating all life. Without a sound, even the dust that was tiny to the point it couldn't be seen with the naked eye within the underground cultivation room was transformed into nothingness by this palm strike. The scarlet moonlight vanished, and the withered remnant flowers disappeared. The underground cultivation room was silent and empty, and the air was unprecedentedly fresh. This move shall be called thousand-year death. Xiao Chen withdrew his hand and sheathed the saber he stabbed into the ground. Then, he walked out of the cultivation room with a trace of calmness. No matter how much grief or melancholy one felt, They should not remain in one's heart for long. After the grief passed, there would still be a bright sunny day. Otherwise, one would fall into the demonic Tao, blaming heaven and others, walking to the extremes. The instant Xiaochen turned around and left the cultivation room, he did not notice that thousands of flowers silently bloomed in the cultivation room. The remnant flowers lost their scarlet color and turned green, spreading everywhere. When the morning sun rose, Xiaochen closed his eyes and rested for a while. Then, Ziying appeared before Xiaochen with a smile on her face. "Young Master Mo, I have already used up all 10 million black astral coins. I have collected a total of 100 king-grade secret treasures and 1,000 sage-grade secret treasures for you. Furthermore, I heard that there will be an emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul being auctioned during the 10,000 treasure festival. Unfortunately, it is damaged." Xiaochen received the spatial ring that Ziying handed over. Then, he scanned it with his spiritual sense and found that the other party was right. He smiled faintly and said, "Damaged? That suits me. What's the price? I want to buy it at once." Ziying felt somewhat surprised. She did not know why Xiaochen cared so much about a secret treasure with a dragon soul, not even letting go of a damaged one. 2 million black astral coins is simply too high. I have seen that emperor-grade secret treasure. Aside from the dragon soul, it is already damaged beyond recognition. As long as the dragon soul was still there, it was fine. 2 million black astral coins was not a high price. An idea formed in Xiaochen's mind. He smiled and said, "The 9 Cauldron Pavilion is indeed very efficient. They managed to settle everything in one night. It looks like I have to give my goods to Miss Ziying." Ziying felt anticipation in her heart. She had mobilized the entire 9 Cauldron Pavilion in 10,000 Treasure City just to see what goods Xiaochen would take out. Bang! 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 Xiaochen placed 9 jade strips on the table. Then, he smiled gently at Ziying and gestured for her to take a seat. Ziying picked up a jade strip doubtfully and sent in her mental energy. In merely a moment, her expression changed drastically. She quickly put down this jade strip and checked the other 8 jade strips. Ziying was completely stunned. The 9 jade strips actually all contained profound martial techniques. This completely surpassed her imagination. Aside from the 1,000 frost battle snow, which Xiaochen cultivated, he took out all 10 jade strips containing profound martial techniques. Profound martial techniques were existences that surpassed heaven-ranked martial techniques. Regular cultivators would not even have heard of them. They would only appear in the top auctions. The number of profound martial techniques was an important factor that attracted the peak geniuses. Of course, Xiaochen had copied the profound martial techniques in these 9 jade strips. He had copies of them, which he could pass on to others on Heavenly Star Island. It looked like the buyer was at a disadvantage. However, if one did not buy them, many people would fight over them. This was a scarce strategic resource. No matter which sect it was, they would never complain about having more profound martial techniques. The moment they appeared in an auction, they would immediately fetch sky-high prices. There was always a demand but no supply. Ziying's voice trembled somewhat as she asked uncertainly, "Young Master Mo, are you selling all 9 inferior-grade profound martial techniques together?" "Ha! If we are not selling them together, why should I take them out?" Xiaochen smiled. "Isn't this nonsense?" Ziying's expression flickered as if she was making a decision. After a while, she said, "Young Master Mo, the rarer something is, the more valuable it is. When there are many of them, they will not fetch a high price. If you auction all these inferior-grade profound martial techniques together, you will not be able to get the highest price. I have a suggestion. I wonder if young Master Mo will consider it?" The other party was right. If 9 profound martial techniques appeared at the auction at once, the price would definitely be lower. If there was only one, it might fetch 4 or 5 times the market price, reaching 3 million black astral coins. Xiaochen did not know what Ziying's suggestion was. His expression did not change as he gestured for her to continue. "I think my 9 Cauldron Merchant Association should buy these 9 jade strips at a fixed price and not sell them during this 10,000 treasure festival. There are even larger sea fairs and auctions in Bright Moon City that our Nine Cauldron Merchant Association can handle. Not going through an auction meant that he would not have to wait for a long time. He could immediately obtain black astral coins from the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association. This was not bad. What price is the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association willing to pay? The market price of an inferior grade profound martial technique is 1 million black astral coins. However, everyone knows that it is impossible to buy at this price. The Nine Cauldron Merchant Association is willing to pay 3 times the market price to buy all of them. Ziying smiled faintly and offered a price that Xiao Chen could not resist. A single profound martial technique might fetch a sky-high price of 4 million black astral coins. However, if 9 appeared in a row, the price would definitely not be that high. Given this, Xiao Chen would not lose out at all. Furthermore, he would not have to wait to obtain black astral coins. Deal. Ziying rejoiced in her heart. She said, "Young Master Mo, please wait for one day. I will have to ask my father about such a large sum of black astral coins. Of course, don't worry. There will definitely not be any problems. I will give that damaged Emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul to young Master Mo as a gift." As Xiao Chen watched Ziying disappear, Ao Jiao said from the Immortal Spirit Ring, "This Nine Cauldron Merchant Association is rather bold. It is a loss to buy them at such a price in the 10,000 Treasure Festival. However, they will definitely make a huge profit in Bright Moon City." Xiao Chen smiled. The price of the 9 jade strips somewhat surpassed his expectations. Including the gift, they sold for a total of 30 million black astral coins. Chapter 1055. Including the remaining 10 million black astral coins on hand, Xiao Chen now had a total of 40 million black astral coins. With such wealth, even an ordinary Emperor Wu would not be as wealthy as him. Without thinking too much, Xiao Chen took out secret treasures containing dragon souls one by one and started consuming them, cultivating the blue dragon body nourishing art. Whether he could resolve the problem of 10 years or not depended on this. Otherwise, everything else would be meaningless. After Ziying left, an urgent expression appeared on her face as she quickly rushed to where her father was in closed-door cultivation. After explaining the purpose of her visit to her father, the true leader of 10,000 Treasure City's 9 Cauldron Pavilion revealed a rare expression of excitement. "You did very well." Ziying smiled and said, "However, 30 million black astral coins will empty out the entire 9 Cauldron Pavilion's savings. We will not be able to do business for a year." That's nothing. The profits from the 9 jade strips will be sufficient to push us to the position of the second city lord. Once we become famous, our luck will increase. Furthermore, the headquarters will definitely give you more benefits. You will even have a chance to compete for the next chief position. Ziying's father appeared very excited, speaking a lot in one breath. Ziying found this strange. "This is our internal transaction. Do we have to pay the treasure master's residence according to the usual quota?" The old man's expression froze. Then he said gravely, "The treasure master's identity is mysterious. He has more than just the 10,000 treasure sea market. You better not have such thoughts. Otherwise, if you break the rules and cause the 9 Cauldron Pavilion to be chased out of 10,000 Treasure City, only the chief can resolve this. At that time, your future will be over." "Alright, I understand. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Take my medallion and go to the treasure pavilion to collect the black astral coins. Also, make sure to give the gifts properly. This person is someone with great luck and is definitely not simple." As Xiao Chen consumed a large number of secret treasures containing dragon souls, his cultivation of the blue dragon body nourishing art advanced at a heaven-defying pace. 6 Dragon Force, 7 Dragon Force, 8 Dragon Force, 9 Dragon Force, 10 Dragon Force. Starting from 5 Dragon Force, Xiao Chen advanced rapidly until he reached 10 Dragon Force before stopping. After spending tens of millions of astral coins, Xiao Chen finally cleared the last minor hurdle of the first layer of the blue dragon body nourishing art. After breaking through the barrier, the blue dragon body nourishing art would break through to the second layer and condense the blue dragon battle armor, greatly increasing its defense. Xiao Chen opened his eyes. His eyes were calm. He had finally reached the horrifying level of 10 Dragon Force with a casual strike. Back in the 9 layers of purgatory, he had seen that ghost race expert rely on his physical body to become a great Grandmaster-level martial sage. Now, he could do it easily. But now, it was clear that 10 dragon strength was not the main point. The main point was the 10 years of lifespan and whether or not his physiological lifespan had improved. After calming himself down, Xiao Chen used the pulse diagnosis technique from the Compendium of Cultivation to check his physiological lifespan. A cold current flowed throughout his body. Xiao Chen's body suddenly turned illusory, and his acupoints shone brightly. To others, Xiao Chen looked like a set of white bones sitting cross-legged, radiating crystalline light. It was not that Xiao Chen had truly turned into a set of white bones. However, this time, when he executed the pulse diagnosis technique more thoroughly, it resulted in a mysterious phenomenon. The light from the bones pierced through his flesh. Boom! After a while, the light faded and the mysterious phenomenon vanished. When Xiao Chen opened his eyes, he did not see any joy or dismay. The results of the pulse diagnosis technique were both good and bad. The blue dragon body nourishing art was indeed effective. However, the effects were limited. His physiological lifespan had only been extended by 10 years. The aging trend had not been eradicated. I still need the longevity art. I have to find an opportunity to speak to that holy daughter alone. No matter whether I can obtain the longevity art or not, I have to do my best to see if I can exchange for it. However, there is a great perfection expert of the blue-robed emperor beside her. That person will not give me a chance at all. I have to think of a way. Xiao Chen analyzed the situation and made up his mind. If there is no other way, I will use force. No matter what, I have to fight for an opportunity to speak alone. Dong, dong, dong. Footsteps resounded, and the 9 cauldron pavilions Ziying arrived with a smile. She pushed open the door and said, "Young master, I'm sorry for making you wait. Everything is ready." Xiao Chen received the spatial ring that Ziying handed over and carefully counted it. There were 27 million black astral coins, the exact number. There was also the incomplete Emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul as a gift. Xiao Chen also handed over the 9 jade strips to Ziying. When both sides verified that there were no mistakes, they signed the transaction contract, and everything was ready. Ziying was somewhat shocked to discover that Xiao Chen's face did not change at all after receiving such a large sum of black astral coins. She did not even think about it. She really could not figure it out. Xiao Chen looked young, but his mental state was even higher than her father's. Ziying thought of something else. She said, "That's right, young Master Mo. Tonight the young master of 10,000 Treasure City, young Master Yi, is holding a banquet in his residence to entertain the Holy Daughter. I received an invitation, and young Master Yi specifically asked for you." Young Master Yi was the cold-faced youth driving the ancient golden war chariot. This was the first time Xiao Chen had met him. Why would he specifically invite him to the banquet? Xiao Chen thought for a while but could not figure out the reason. So, he asked Ziying for guidance. "I heard that it is the Lunar Palace's holy daughter's intention." Unexpectedly, young Master Mo has a connection with the holy daughter. "This is really enviable," Ziying said with a smile. "The Lunar Palace's holy daughter, Yu Bingyun's intention?" Xiao Chen originally came to 10,000 Treasure City in a low-profile manner. However, the 9 Cauldron Pavilion caused the entire city to know about it. Now, everyone knew that the 9 Cauldron Pavilion made a mistake and was going to make a fool of themselves. For no reason at all, the 9 Cauldron Pavilion was receiving a Grandmaster-level martial sage with the highest form of courtesy. If Yu Bingyun wanted to, she could easily make a connection based on what others said about Xiao Chen's appearance and herself. However, Ziying clearly misunderstood. Xiao Chen did indeed have a significant connection with the Holy Daughter. However, this connection was not what the other party thought it was. For some reason, the Lunar Palace's Holy Daughter wanted to meet him. Did she want to confirm his identity before settling the score? Should I go or not? Xiao Chen felt somewhat conflicted. The misunderstanding that day was rather big. Not only did he injure some Lunar Palace female disciples and scold them in front of everyone, but he also messed up the scene of the other party's treatment. Very well. I'll go with you when it's night. The misunderstanding had to be resolved eventually. As for the longevity art, Xiaochen wanted to talk to her alone for a while, so he quickly made up his mind. Ziying revealed an expression of joy. Originally, she was worried that Xiaochen would not go and upset the young master of 10,000 Treasure City. Now, it looked like she had worried for nothing. In that case, go and make your preparations. I'll come and find you personally. After Ziying left, Xiaochen withdrew his hand with a flip of his palm and took out the damaged Emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul, an ancient sword radiating desolate qi. The blade of the sword was in tatters, with nicks on both sides and cracks spreading out in the middle. Such a sword would probably shatter with just a touch. Whether the secret treasure could be used or not was not what Xiaochen cared about. He sent in his spiritual sense. Within the shattered space, a lethargic dragon soul was lying in a dark corner of the space. It did not move at all, showing no signs of life or fighting spirit. Its eyes were closed as it waited for death. It did not even notice the spiritual sense that Xiaochen sent in. Waiting for death? This was a dragon waiting for death. No, there was no such thing as a dragon waiting for death in this world. Even in death, a dragon's fighting spirit and hot-bloodedness would not stop. This was no longer a dragon soul. It was a worm, not worthy of being called a dragon. Xiaochen could forget about using it to break through the bottleneck of the first layer of the blue dragon body nourishing art. Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense. Then, he grabbed the tattered ancient sword and tossed it out of the window, turning it into a beam of light that flew far away. The damaged Emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul was worth 1 million black astral coins. Yet, Xiaochen casually tossed it away without any reluctance. The moon hung high in the sky, and night quietly descended. Xiaochen and Ziying flew in the air, heading for the luxurious palace on the thumb of the statue. This young treasure master Yi Ling is an extremely strong person. However, no matter how strong he is, he still has to be polite to the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. The two did not move very fast. As they strolled in the air, they chatted idly. Ziying's tone showed some envy for the position of the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. The Lunar Palace had a transcendent position, vaguely above the many holy lands. It had ancient inheritances and deep accumulations. After the Dragon's Gate temporarily unified the heavenly starry ocean, the Lunar Palace's reputation soared. Now, it nearly pushed the Lunar Palace to the top. Bright Moon City became the center of the entire heavenly starry ocean, connecting the various immortal holy lands. Its position was so important that no one could replace it. However, this treasure master is really mysterious. Even my father is not willing to tell me about his background, Ziying said softly. The treasure master was indeed mysterious. Rumor had it that this person occupied 10 ancient statues similar to this one in the heavenly starry ocean and transformed them into sea markets. The treasure master did not run a merchant association but relied on these sea markets. His annual income was even higher than that of several peak merchant associations. Soon, the two landed in front of the treasure master's residence. There was an endless stream of carriages in front of the gates. All the noble merchants or cultivators in 10,000 Treasure City had probably been invited. Miss Ziying, it has been a long time. How have you been? A man dressed in luxurious clothes and giving off a rich aura walked towards the two of them with a young man with purple eyes. This person had a wide smile on his face, but it gave off an inexplicable feeling of hypocrisy. When Ziying saw this person, she frowned slightly and whispered, "This is the young manager of the Flaming Wind Merchant Association's 10,000 Treasure City, Bai Zhe. The person beside him is the scion of the ancient Gongsun clan, Gongsun Yen. Gongsun Yen was born with the thunder spirit body. He grasps the will of thunder and the will of fire. He has cultivated the Thunder Flame War body and is extremely famous in the Southern Sea." The Flaming Wind Merchant Association's Bai Zhe looked at Xiaochen, and a mocking look flashed in his eyes. "Ha! Is this the honored guest of the Nine Cauldron Pavilion? Indeed, hearing about him is not as good as seeing him in person. Miss Ziying has good eyes. I'll take my leave first. You. Ziying could not help feeling flustered at such mockery. Her face flushed bright red. When the masters of the nearby merchant associations heard this, they all laughed loudly. Indeed, Bai Zhe had good eyes. For the sake of such a nameless person, he missed out on all the outstanding talents of the Southern Sea. After this 10,000 treasure festival, the Nine Cauldron Pavilion would probably suffer the consequences of being chased out of its position as the fifth city lord. Gong Sun Yen glanced at Xiao Qin, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He wondered if this person was the white-robed man who profaned the holy daughter. Based on Xiao Qian's clothes, figure, and the white fan in his hand, it was most likely him. Chapter 1056. Gong Sun Yen, who had been preparing to leave with Bai Zhe, stepped forward. He looked at Xiao Qian and asked, "Might I ask for your great name? Did you appear on Purple Cloud Island half a month ago?" Xiao Qian smiled and said, "Mo Yun, what young Master Gong Sun wants to ask is whether I was the one who took the holy daughter's pulse half a month ago." "Indeed it was you. How reckless! You profaned the holy daughter and even dared to appear in our southern sea." Boom! Electric flames flickered in the sky. Gong Sun Yen did not say anything more and directly attacked Xiao Qian. Gong Sun Yen stepped forward, and electricity flickered on his body. Fire and lightning layered over each other as he threw a palm strike. When Gong Sun Yen threw this palm strike, that strand of electric flame in the sky instantly lit up half the sky, making it look like the sun, illuminating a boundless aura. From the moment Gong Sun Yen spoke to the moment he stored up his aura and attacked, only one breath of time had passed. With such strength, it was no wonder he did not care about regular Grandmaster-level martial sages. Even if a regular great Grandmaster-level martial sage came, they would be instantly killed. Gong Sun Yen truly lived up to his reputation as an outstanding talent. Everyone exclaimed in shock. Before the boundless electric flame, the white-robed Xiao Qian's fate was already in sight. The electric flame would strike him and burn him to ashes. Xiao Qian smiled coldly. He did not store up his aura or retreat. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he took a step forward as well. Then, Xiao Qian folded the folding fan in his hand and pointed it at the center of Gong Sun Yan's ferocious palm strike. Bang! The instant the folding fan clashed with the electric flame palm strike, Xiao Qian did not move back at all. Instead, the one who moved back was Gong Sun Yen with his boundless aura. The reason was none other than Gong Sun Yan's arrogance. He did not draw a weapon, fighting barehanded. Gong Sun Yen thought that with his speed and aura, he could instantly suppress Xiao Qian, leaving Xiao Qian at a loss. However, Gong Sun Yen did not know that to Xiao Qian, this bit of aura was nothing. Not only did he not panic, but he also immediately grasped the opening of this move. Not giving the other party a chance to retaliate, Xiao Qian leaped forward with a tap of his feet. Making use of the 2 to 3 seconds before the other party landed on the ground, he launched a flurry of attacks. His folding fan fluttered, his shoulders, his hands, his feet, his hair, all of them were sharp weapons. Before Xiao Qian, who comprehended the flawless saber Dao and had plenty of combat experience, Gong Sun Yen was like a child. In just 2 to 3 seconds, he had been beaten into a sorry state. He had suffered multiple blows, and he was in excruciating pain. By the time he landed on the ground, he staggered a dozen steps back. On the other hand, in the eyes of others, Xiao Qian's movements were dazzling. After images overlapped one another, and after his incredibly elegant movements, he stretched out his hand and waved his folding fan. Then, he landed firmly on the ground, appearing calm and unruffled. From start to end, the strength that Xiao Qian displayed was that of an ordinary Grandmaster-level martial sage. However, in this short exchange, he beat up Gong Sun Yen like he was a child. The temperament and performance of the outstanding talents could not be seen at all. They were clumsy, pathetic, and unable to withstand a single blow. Who dares to be so unbridled in front of the Treasure Master's residence? Just as Gong Sun Yen was about to erupt with the Thunder Flame War Body and bring out his full strength, a dignified voice came from the Treasure Master's residence. Whoosh! 4 guards of the treasure master's residence descended from the sky. The old man leading them swept his gaze across the place, and everyone felt a sense of might and pressure in their hearts. This was a blue-robed emperor expert. The one who spoke earlier was him. The moment this person appeared, the raging Gongsun Yen forcefully calmed down. Xiaochen opened his folding fan and smiled faintly. Brother Gongsun and I were just itching to spar. Senior, please don't misunderstand. The old man snorted coldly. I don't care where you come from or what faction you have behind you. You are absolutely not allowed to make a move in this 10,000 treasure city. After saying that, the old man turned around and left with the guards who extended their hands. Before leaving, the old man gave Xiaochen a suspicious look. Xiaochen let the old man look, not minding it at all. A small perfection blue-robed emperor would not be able to see anything wrong with it. Gongsun Yen scattered his aura and looked coldly at Xiaochen. Don't get cocky. Just wait and see. Xiaochen found this funny. He really did not get cocky. He had won too easily. There was no sense of accomplishment at all. Young Master Mo, was the person who profaned the holy daughter really you? Ziying asked in disbelief. Xiaochen smiled and said, It's fine. There is just some misunderstanding between us. I will clear it up at the banquet. It will not bring any trouble to the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. Ziying giggled and said, Young Master Mo is overthinking. Our 9 Cauldron Pavilion is considered a peak merchant association in the heavenly starry ocean. Why would we fear this little bit of trouble? However, this little girl really did not expect that there would be someone in this world who is not afraid of death and would dare to profane the holy daughter. Profane? Why does everyone use this word? I did not even touch the other party's hand. Xiaochen smiled helplessly and stopped explaining. Then, he entered the treasure master's residence with Ziying. The small interlude ended, but the storm was far from over. In just a few moves, Xiaochen had reduced the outstanding talent Gongsun Yen to a sorry state like a child. He no longer had the air of an expert, appearing clumsy and stupid. Naturally, cultivators with good judgment would not think that Gongsun Yen was only capable of this much. Instead, when Xiaochen made a move, he completely countered Gongsun Yen. Xiaochen had predicted the enemy's moves and made judgments in advance. His rich combat experience was clearly displayed in close combat. Although Gongsun Yen had underestimated his opponent and lost the initiative, based on the current situation, even if he had not underestimated his opponent, he would not have gained the upper hand. What was even more unexpected was that the white-clothed man in front of them was actually the person who had been rumored to be the one who had publicly profaned the saintess. There will probably be a good show to watch at the banquet. The Holy Son and Holy Daughter of Zodiac Hall, the Divine Dragon Palace's Hai Tian, the Xia Clan Xia Hanfeng, and the Shang Emperor have all been invited. I wonder, where does he get his confidence from? After slapping the faces of the outstanding talents of our Southern Sea's younger generation, he still dares to attend the banquet. The 9 Cauldron Pavilion will probably be implicated as well. It is best if there is excitement. This year's 10,000 Treasure Festival is indeed somewhat dull. Along with all sorts of discussions, the guests handed over their invitations and entered the Treasure Master's residence in groups of 2s and 3s. Under the full moon at night, the group walked through the quiet garden and arrived at the brightly lit hall. The banquet had already started there. The famous singers and dancers of 10,000 Treasure City had been invited. Zither music and string music reverberated in the surroundings. The young treasure master of 10,000 Treasure City's long and narrow table was placed in the center. Behind the table, the young treasure master, Yi Ling, sat on a golden jade throne, appearing very tyrannical. Yu Bingyun sat at the first table on the right. Beside her was the mysterious expert Auntie Bai, who never left her side. When Xiaochen entered with Ziying, he clearly felt Yu Bingyun's gaze on him. However, Xiaochen did not mind. He smiled faintly and looked back. Previously, he had not seen this girl's appearance clearly due to the white fog and a screen. This time, when Xiaochen looked seriously, he still felt that the other party's face was obscured by a layer of mist, preventing him from seeing it clearly. Even when Xiaochen infused his spiritual sense into his eyes, he still could not see clearly. However, he did not feel any discomfort. The other party's appearance seemed to appear in his mind easily. However, when he tried to think about it, he could not make any sense of it. This was truly strange. Aside from the holy daughter Yu Bingyun's gaze, Xiao Chen also felt several gazes on him after he sat down. Clearly, the commotion at the gates had already reached here. Among them, 3 people caught his attention. With Zi Ying's whispered introduction, Xiao Chen gained a rough idea of these 3 people's origins. They were the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master, Hai Tian. The ancient noble clans Shangguan Yun and the Xia clan's scion, Xia Hanfeng, were the peak outstanding talents of the Southern Sea's younger generation. These people all had extraordinary aspects. They either cultivated 2 wills, cultivated a special combat body, or cultivated a wondrous cultivation technique. If it were before the king conferral ceremony, the Xiao Chen of that time would have some reservations when facing these people. Now, however, he did not need to worry too much. Xiao Chen had already entered the blue-robed emperor realm and returned to his natural state, becoming one with the world. He had the air of a grandmaster, able to control it as he pleased. Aside from the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, the only person Xiao Chen could not see through was the young treasure master, Yi Ling, who sat in the middle and did not need to hide his tyrannical aura. The banquet had not officially started yet. If it did, the dancers would probably be sent away. Is he waiting for someone? As Xiao Chen thought this, he saw the young treasure master Yi Ling stand up from his throne. He revealed a smile and said, "Brother Chu Yang, congratulations on coming out of closed-door cultivation. After this, your name will definitely resound throughout the heavenly starry ocean, bringing honor to our southern sea." There were countless guests here. When the other outstanding talents arrived, the young treasure master only smiled and raised his cup in greeting. Now, for the sake of the Zodiac Hall's holy son, Chu Yang, he stood up alone. This showed how much importance the young treasure master placed on Chu Yang. Outside the door, the Sun Palace's Chu Yang and the Moon Palace's Fu Hongyao entered together. Immediately, everyone's gazes focused on these 2. Xiao Chen squinted and sent his spiritual sense into his eyes. He discovered rings of light that could not be seen with the naked eye on Chu Yang's body. Chu Yang was like a blazing sun, radiating light everywhere. If he willed it, he could instantly turn the dark night as bright as day. Chu Yang's cultivation had already broken through the barrier of Grandmaster, reaching great Grandmaster level martial sage. He was only 1 step away from the blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen thought to himself, calculating the time, that group of outstanding talents of the Kunlun continent should have reached Chu Yang's current cultivation level. Furthermore, in the astral battlefield, the strongest battlefield, Chu Yang's improvement would be even more obvious. However, Xiao Chen analyzed the situation in his heart. Aside from the few primes and Emperor Wu's inheritors, no one would be able to defeat this person. Brother Yi Ling is very considerate. Chu Yang smiled faintly. Then, together with Fu Hongyao, they went to the first table on the left that was reserved for the 2 of them. Yi Ling sat down again and waved his hand, dismissing the dancers. Then, he raised his cup and said, "This time, the Lunar Palace's holy daughter came to my 10,000 treasure city, adding to the glory of this 10,000 treasure festival. This first cup of wine must be offered to Miss Bingyun." The others raised their cups at the same time, swaying as they toasted Yu Bingyun. She smiled faintly and did not put on any pretense. Then she raised her cup and drained it in one go. Naturally, this second cup of wine must be offered to the most dazzling young outstanding talent of our southern sea, the strongest true inheritor of the Sun Palace, Brother Chu Yang. Congratulations on coming out of closed-door cultivation. Chu Yang smiled faintly, gladly accepting the young treasure master's compliments. Then he raised his cup and drained it as well. Chapter 1057. No one had any doubts about the order of the young treasure master's toasts. It was only natural that the holy volleyball holy maiden should be the first. Calling Chu Yang the number 1 person of the Southern Sea's younger generation would cause the other outstanding talents to feel dissatisfied in their hearts. However, they would not show it. Everyone looked forward to who the young treasure master, Yi Ling, would offer the third cup of wine to. At the beginning of the banquet, the host would only toast 3 cups of wine. These 3 cups of wine represented a person's face, identity, and reputation. Given Yi Ling's status as the young treasure master, these 3 cups of wine were naturally very important. Everyone wanted to be the one toasting the third cup. The prodigies, Hai Tian, Gong Sun Yen, Shangguan Yun, and Xia Hanfeng, were all secretly waiting. Although they didn't show it on the surface, they were already unable to restrain themselves. After the second cup of wine was drunk, everyone put down their wine cups and looked at Yi Ling, waiting to see which outstanding talent he would offer this cup of wine to. If there were no accidents, Hai Tian from the Southern Sea Dragon God Palace had the highest chance. After all, he was the legitimate successor of Neptune's old subordinates. What? The maidservant standing at the side gently filled Yi Ling's empty cup. Yi Ling picked up his wine cup and smiled faintly. Then he swept his gaze across the faces of the various outstanding talents. His line of sight was fixed on a person that no one would have expected. This third cup of wine is for young Master Mo Yun, who came from afar. I sincerely hope that young Master Mo will do me the honor of attending the next 10,000 Treasure Festival. To everyone's surprise, Yi Ling's third cup of wine was not for the various outstanding talents. Instead, he chose the unknown Xiao Chen. Hai Tian, Gong Sun Yen, and the others, who were filled with anticipation, all revealed expressions of extreme shock and disbelief. Everyone's expressions darkened. After the other 3 city lords, who were trying to rope in the geniuses, immediately understood that it was time for them to step forward. His financial backer had spent the silver from the tournament, and his status and reputation had spread far and wide. They actually didn't manage to get the third cup of wine and let a nameless kid snatch it away. In the future, which prodigy would want to do business with them? This cup of wine, young Master Yi can toast, but some people can't drink. The young managers of the 3 merchant associations stood up at the same time, wanting to tear down the stage in front of all the guests. The Wind Fire Merchant Association is unconvinced. They feel that young Master Mo is not qualified to drink this cup of wine. The Treasure Heaven Pavilion isn't convinced. Not just anyone has the qualifications to drink the wine that young Master Yi offers. The Heavenly Cloud Chamber of Commerce is also unconvinced. Young Master Yi's wine can be toasted, but some people can't drink it. Suddenly, in front of all the guests, the young masters of the 3 chambers of commerce stood up at the same time and mercilessly pulled down Xiao Chen's stage. Xiao Chen found this strange. Firstly, he had not expected the young treasure master, Yi Ling, to offer this toast to him. Secondly, he could not understand why the young managers of the 3 merchant associations would react so strongly. It was just a cup of wine. If he didn't drink it, so be it. It was no big deal. However, even though he didn't care, Xin did. Xiao Chen was her financial backer and her biggest client. If she didn't stand up for him now, who else would want to work with her in the future? Ziying put down her wine cup and said sullenly, "This is the treasure master's residence. The few of you are really tyrannical, even daring to stop the young treasure master's wine." The Wind Fire Merchant Associations by Zay said coldly, "His origins are unknown, and he is not famous. What will the outstanding talents of my Southern Sea think if we offer this toast to him?" That's right. We do business in 10,000 Treasure City and pay a large amount of taxes to 10,000 Treasure City every year. If the treasure master offers this toast to an outsider, we will be disappointed. The words of the 10,000 Treasure Pavilions Chen Tian made it clear that the 3 merchant associations stood together, intending to work together to pressure the treasure master. Otherwise, a single merchant association would not have any say against the tyrannical treasure master's residence. The few outstanding talents remained silent. Clearly, they were extremely dissatisfied in their hearts, waiting for the treasure master to give an explanation. Coming to this 10,000 Treasure City, they spent money like it was dirt, seeking fame and profit. Unexpectedly, the young treasure master offered a third toast to an outsider at this banquet. Wasn't this slapping the faces of these outstanding talents? Such a thing happened right at the start of the banquet. The guests were all excited. Such a situation rarely happened. However, the young treasure master, Yiling, smiled faintly as if he had expected this long ago. He said calmly, "Young Master Mo completed a transaction worth close to 40 million black astral coins at the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association. As long as anyone can reach half of this amount, they will receive the best reception in 10,000 Treasure City, becoming an eternal honored guest of my 10,000 Treasure City. Furthermore, they will enjoy a 20% discount in the 10 great sea markets of the heavenly starry ocean." The moment Yiling said this, the guests in the hall goggled, not daring to believe what they heard. A transaction worth 40 million black astral coins. What kind of a sum was this? Aside from a few special blue-robed emperors, probably no one under Emperor Wu could achieve this. Everyone looked at Xiao Chen in shock. A Grandmaster-level martial sage actually completed such a huge transaction. Such a sum was probably the largest transaction in the history of the 10,000 Treasure Festival. The young managers of the 3 merchant associations stood up. At first, they were shocked. Then, they felt embarrassed. When faced with so many gazes, they did not know how to deal with this situation, unable to advance or retreat. Such a huge transaction was completely worthy of the young treasure master's 3rd cup of wine. Compared to Mo Yun, the transactions of the other outstanding talents were like children playing house. There was no comparison at all. This time, they really stuck their faces out and took the initiative to be slapped. This was a huge embarrassment. Ziying felt incredibly cocky, a smile filling her face. "You mocked me. Now you know who the joke is, right?" Bai Zhe of the Flaming Wind Merchant Association was the first to react. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, young treasure master. This cup of wine should indeed be offered to young master." The people of the other merchant associations all chimed in. They all stood up and raised their wine cups, toasting Xiao Chen together. Merchants sought profit. They did not care about who could give them benefits or potential benefits. They did not care about face. What was integrity? How much was it worth? Was it worth 10 million black astral coins? Hai Tian and the others paled. They had not expected such an ending. As they looked at the people smiling and toasting Xiao Chen, the rage in their hearts slowly built up. Fu Hongyao whispered something into Chu Yang's ear. A murderous intent flashed in Chu Yang's eyes. Then, he glanced at Xiao Chen with some doubt in his eyes. Xiao Chen calmly accepted the toasts of the others. He raised his wine cup and drained it in one go. Xiao Chen glanced at the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. He could not see her expression clearly. There were no fluctuations, as if she did not care about the matter of that day. However, that blue-robed emperor expert beside her kept staring at Xiao Chen like he wanted to see through him. Xiao Chen's heart sank. With this person around, it would be very difficult for him to meet Yu Bingyun alone. While Xiao Chen thought to himself, the banquet continued. The focus of the banquet was still on Yu Bingyun. Under the direction of someone, the topic shifted to Xiao Chen's blasphemy with the holy daughter on Purple Cloud Island. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said that it was a misunderstanding. She told everyone not to mind it, saving Xiao Chen some trouble. "Miss Bingyun, there is still one more year before the Four Seas Hero Gathering begins. I wonder what kind of great gift the Lunar Palace will take out for this gathering?" Indeed. Even now, the Lunar Palace is still keeping it a secret. There is no need for it, right? The topic shifted to the topic that the outstanding talents here were more concerned about. They asked about the great gift of the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "The Lunar Palace is very sincere about the great gift of this Four Seas Hero Gathering. At this point, there is indeed no need to keep it a secret." Seeing that Yu Bingyun did not intend to hide anything, everyone's curiosity could not help but be piqued. In every Four Seas Hero Gathering, the great treasure that the Lunar Palace took out would make everyone scramble for it. They wondered what kind of great treasure the Lunar Palace would take out this time. This time, the top treasure that the Lunar Palace is taking out is a divine rock from another world. This divine rock has a spirit and can suppress luck and change the Earth's veins. There is a prime martial emperor writing the words Dragon's Gate on it. The noisy hall immediately turned silent. Wasn't the divine stone that Yu Bingyun spoke of the first-ranked wondrous stone, the heaven-subduing rock? That was the mountain tablet of the Dragon Gate. The two words, Dragon Gate, were written by the Qing Emperor himself. Since the destruction of the Dragon's Gate, the mountain tablet of the Dragon's Gate had been missing for 10,000 years. Unexpectedly, it was in the hands of the Lunar Palace. But thinking about it, it made sense. This mountain tablet was newly erected after the Dragon's Gate unified the heavenly starry ocean. After the Dragon's Gate was destroyed, the Lunar Palace rose up. It was reasonable that the Lunar Palace obtained this mountain tablet of the heavenly starry ocean. As for the mountain tablet of the Kunlun Dragon Sect's headquarters, after the fall of the Qing Emperor, the mountain tablet was immediately destroyed by his enemies. This was the only one of the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablets that had been lost outside. Great waves surged in Xiao Chen's heart. However, aside from the initial shock, he quickly recovered. This was because a pair of eyes noticed him immediately. The owner of those eyes was the Sun Palace's Chu Yang, whom even Xiao Chen somewhat feared. Hong Yao, although this person's origins are unknown, he uses a strange weapon. Furthermore, he is only a great grandmaster-level martial sage. I'm afraid that you really got the wrong person. I am not completely confident either. It is just a feeling. As for the exact situation, we still have to test him out before we can know. I understand. If it really is him, I will definitely make him pay a painful price in this treasure master's residence. The two sent voice projections to each other, exchanging their opinions of this Mo Yun. Both of them suspected the other person. However, this Mo Yun used a folding fan, which was very different from the saber that Xiao Chen used. Although Fu Hongyao had a strong intuition, he still did not dare to be sure. Regardless of the two's secret conversation, everyone in the hall was extremely shocked at the Lunar Palace's gift. The heaven-subduing rock and the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. This gift was something that no one could have imagined even if they racked their brains. After tonight, the news of the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet as the gift would spread throughout the entire heavenly starry ocean like the wind. This would make the Four Seas Hero Gathering 1 year from now even more eye-catching, reaching an unprecedented peak. Xiao Chen's thoughts raced. Initially, he had no interest in the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Now, he could not help entering deep thought. I wonder, who does Miss Bingyun think will be able to suppress all the outstanding talents in this Four Seas Hero Gathering, stand out, and take the top spot to receive the gift? Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, right now, this is an age of geniuses. The heavenly starry ocean is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. How could Bingyun dare to make such a judgment? Chapter 1058. I feel that our Southern Sea's young Master Chu has great hope. There have always been rumors that young Master Chu cultivates in the sun. I wonder if that is true? Someone threw the question to Chu Yang. Immediately, everyone's gaze turned to Chu Yang. That's right. The Zodiac Hall dominates the Southern Sea. The Sun Palace only accepts elites as disciples. Furthermore, young Master Chu is an elite among elites. After coming out of closed-door cultivation, you will definitely gain something. Chu Yang's expression did not change. He smiled calmly and said, it is true that I cultivate in the sun. However, the cultivation places of the outstanding talents of the Heavenly Province Academy, the Five Poison Sect, the Yin-Yang Paradise, the Myriad Fiend Island, and the other holy lands are not much inferior to mine. How is that an advantage? Suddenly, Chu Yang's tone changed as he casually glanced at Xiao Chen. After a pause, he said, today, all the outstanding talents of the Southern Sea are here. It is rare for us to gather here. How about we exchange moves before the Four Seas Hero Gathering? That way, we can improve together. Young Master Chu's suggestion is pretty good. This is a good opportunity to see the strength of the various outstanding talents. The Four Seas Hero Gathering is about to begin. I believe the many outstanding talents are already prepared. As soon as Chu Yang's voice fell, there was an endless stream of responses. The banquet immediately turned lively. In the world of cultivators, fighting was always something that made people's blood race. This was especially so for the many outstanding talents here. The fights would definitely be very exciting. Brother Yiling, what do you think? Chu Yang looked at the young treasure master. After all, this was the treasure master's residence. He needed to seek his permission before doing anything. Yi Ling smiled and said, "I have no objections as long as the holy daughter does not mind." Yu Bingyun frowned slightly. She vaguely felt that Chu Yang's words targeted Mo Yun. After hesitating for a while, Yu Bingyun said, "It is fine to stop when necessary. Don't get caught up in a conflict of emotions." Actually, even if she did not say this, Yu Bingyun knew that it would be pointless. However, the young treasure master and Chu Yang both wanted to test Mo Yun. Even if she tried to stop them, the two would have other excuses. Later, if there are any accidents, Andy Bai, please keep an eye on him. Don't worry, I have been watching him. Yu Bingyun sent a voice projection to Auntie Bai. It was still unclear whether this Mo Yun was the person she was looking for or not. She did not wish for anything unexpected to happen. However, he didn't know that this would cause Xiao Chen to misunderstand him even more. Xiao Chen thought that Auntie Bai was fixated on him because she still remembered what happened on Purple Cloud Island and could only use force. The young treasure master Yi Ling smiled faintly and said, "In that case, let's stop here. I also want to see how much Brother Chu Yang's strength has improved after coming out of closed-door cultivation." Chu Yang was non-committal and did not answer the question directly. He said, "There will be a chance. Let's see how other friends perform first. Brother Gong Sun seems to be ready for battle." Gong Sun Yen looked at Xiao Qin and walked to the center of the square. He said coldly, "That's right. Earlier outside the treasure master's residence, this one's exchange with young Master Mo is far from satisfying. Mo Yun, since young Master Chu has spoken, do you dare to spar with me again?" At this moment, Xiao Chen was thinking of some plans. When he heard this, he had an idea. He stood up, opened his folding fan, and walked to the center of the arena. He used his actions to answer Gong Sun Yen. Seeing Xiao Chen step forward, a fighting spirit blazed in Gong Sun Yen's eyes. He had suppressed the humiliation outside the city lord's residence for a long time. Without saying anything, Gong Sun Yen put on a pair of black gold gloves. Then, electric light flashed as he charged at Xiao Chen. This time, Gong Sun Yen did not hold back at all. He left behind a clump of lightning-attributed fire where he stood, and his body moved in an instant, vanishing from where he was. It was a simple move, but it had the explosive speed of lightning and the destructive power of flames. This move was not fancy. It relied on speed and ruthlessness. In this space that was not too vast, it held a great advantage. Under such circumstances, a regular great grandmaster-level martial sage would be caught off guard and defeated in one move. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm as he watched Gong Sun Yen, who had vanished from everyone else's sight. However, Gong Sun Yen's movements appeared in slow motion in Xiao Chen's eyes. He could clearly see the trajectory of Gong Sun Yen's body and the openings in his footwork. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen moved. His body also vanished from the eyes of the weaker people. Bang, bang, bang. The sounds of intense fighting rang out in the air. Gong Sun Yan's figure appeared, flying back while vomiting blood. Xiao Chen moved like a ghost, moving forward again. He thrust his folding fan, and Gong Sun Yen flew back again, crashing into the steps of Yi Ling's table. In the eyes of ordinary people, the scene was very simple. It was just the two disappearing one after another. Then, Gong Sun Yen appeared in midair with a flourishing aura. Gong Sun Yen was mysteriously defeated, vomiting blood. Then he suffered a ruthless strike from Xiao Chen, severely injuring him and rendering him unable to get up. However, to the experts present, the scene was not like this. The two fought with speed, exchanging 10 moves in an instant. Every move was hair-raising, able to decide victory and defeat, deciding life and death. The intensity of this fight was no less than a great battle of 1,000 moves. Of the 10 moves, Gong Sun Yen only managed to attack once before falling into defense. After doing his best to block 3 of Xiao Chen's moves, he could no longer block another. The folding fan fluttered, the bone-chilling cold wind. Every strike was horrifying. Gong Sun Yen suffered 7 moves in a row. How could he not be defeated in such a sorry state? Confusion appeared in Chu Yang's eyes. The strength that this Mo Yun before him displayed was indeed that of a grandmaster-level martial sage. However, his combat experience and techniques were much higher than Gong Sun Yan's. Hence, Gong Sun Yan lost so decisively that everyone thought that he did not even last one round. Could it be that he really is not that person? Chu Yang thought to himself. Whoosh! Xiaochen opened his folding fan and smiled faintly. With just this much, you dare to call yourself an outstanding talent? You had better not go to the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Even if you do, you will just embarrass yourself. The Southern Sea is merely Esu. How arrogant! I, Xia Hanfeng, will test you out. When the scion of the Xia clan, who was also a noble clan, saw Mo Yun's arrogance, he soared up and pressed toward Xiaochen. After learning from Gong Sun Yan's lesson, Xia Hanfeng fought steadily. He used the Xia clan's cultivation technique to imitate the might of the heavenly Tao. As he slowly descended, he threw a palm strike. It was like the hand of heaven smashing down heavily. Xiaochen's eyes lit up. This was the first time he saw such a martial technique. To think that Xiaochen could imitate the might of the heavenly Tao. Unfortunately, he was still lacking. His cultivation had not reached the level of great grandmaster-level martial sage, so he was not a threat to Xiaochen. Thousand Frost Battles Snow, Unyielding Pride. Xiaochen opened his folding fan and used a profound martial technique as well. His arrogance soared, not fearing heaven or heaven. This mysterious state happened to counter Xia Hanfeng's move, Heaven's Hand. This forced Xia Hanfeng, who was about to press down, back. Xiaochen's soaring arrogance suppressed the might of heaven. Without the might of heaven, this move naturally broke. Xiaochen soared up and clashed with Xia Hanfeng in midair. With every move, he successfully dragged Xia Hanfeng into his rhythm. It looked like Xia Hanfeng was forced into a sorry state by Xiaochen, about to follow in Gong Sun Yan's footsteps. The Divine Dragon Palace's Hai Tian and the Shangguan noble clan's Shangguan Yun, who were still muttering to themselves, shouted coldly and attacked at the same time, trying to help Xia Hanfeng out of his predicament. Xiaochen smiled faintly. They came at the right time. Since they were willing to take the initiative to make a move, it saved him some trouble. A chaotic battle broke out, turning the place into an intense battle between four people. The three outstanding talents of the Southern Sea actually had to make a move at the same time to suppress Xiaochen. Yi Ling, who sat in the middle, showed a sullen expression. Xiaochen's strength somewhat surpassed his expectations. Chu Yang felt somewhat anxious. Even at this point, he still had not seen the martial technique that Mo Yun used. He did not know what it had to do with Xiaochen. Did I really mistake him? Just at this moment, something strange happened. The aura of Xiaochen, who was being suppressed by the three, suddenly soared, reaching great grandmaster-level martial sage. Clearly, it was not realistic to use grandmaster-level martial sage to defeat these three. That way, Xiaochen's plan would not succeed. Only by raising his strength further would he have a chance. When facing Xiaochen, whose strength suddenly soared, Hai Tian and the other two were caught off guard. The first to suffer was Xia Hanfeng. He was sent flying by Xiaochen's palm strike, knocking over 3 tables in a row. Amidst the clanging sounds, figures flew everywhere, and the place immediately became somewhat chaotic. Bang! Xiaochen sent out another palm strike, and Shangguan Yun went flying. A strong wind blew from his body, spreading everywhere. The place turned chaotic. With the final punch, the Divine Dragon Palace's Hai Tian flew back like a meteor by Xiaochen. The friction between his body and the air gave off a piercing sonic boom. The direction Hai Tian flew in was where the Lunar Palace's Holy Daughter was. Auntie Bai's expression changed slightly. Given Hai Tian's speed, if he crashed into the Holy Daughter, she would definitely be injured. Auntie Bai moved at lightning speed, wanting to block Hai Tian. The hall fell into complete chaos. A strong wind blew, and the heavenly might spread out, affecting all the guests. As everyone made their moves, the situation became even more chaotic. All this happened in just 2 breaths. Xiaochen took advantage of the opening when Auntie Bai attacked to move and restrain Yu Bingyun at lightning speed. Xiaochen used his heavenly laws to drive the power of the world. With a suppressive advantage, he instantly sealed Yu Bingyun's strength, preventing her from executing her abilities. Don't move. I just have some business with you. I won't hurt you. Xiao Chen hoisted Yu Bingyun on his shoulder and leaped out of the hall. With a few flashes, he unfurled the freedom wings and vanished from the treasure master's residence. The hall was as chaotic as ever. Loud sounds rang out endlessly. Auntie Bai had just caught the flying Hai Tian. The other party was the Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master. Furthermore, Auntie Bai was not a decisive person, so she did not want to injure Hai Tian. Who knew, the moment Auntie Bai landed, Yu Bingyun disappeared from her side. Seeing Xiao Chen carry Yu Bingyun away just like that, Chu Yang and Yi Ling were flabbergasted. What was going on? How could the bona fide Lunar Palace's holy daughter be carried away like that? Bang! With the holy daughter captured, how could Auntie Bai care so much? She casually tossed Hai Tian to the side. Auntie Bai unleashed a strong aura and charged forward. Her body merged with the heavens. When she took a step forward, the world moved with her. The cultivators in her way were all knocked into a mess, tumbling everywhere. Yi Ling and Chu Yang reacted. Their faces sank at the same time as they soared into the air and quickly gave chase. In a moment of desperation, the aura that the two burst out with was actually no weaker than the small perfection blue-robed emperors. The two exchanged glances. They could tell that the other had held back. Their true strength was not as simple as it looked on the surface. However, at this moment, this matter was urgent. There was no time to overthink. Chasing after the person was more important. Chapter 1059. If something happened to the Holy Daughter after she was kidnapped, the Lunar Palace would definitely not sit by and do nothing. Both of them would be blamed. Boom! The sounds of intense fighting came from ahead. Aunt Bai, who was the first to rush out, seemed to be obstructed. Ha! My brother Mo is indeed someone who can do great things. No wonder he is not willing to work with us to kidnap the Holy Daughter. It turns out that he wants to do it alone. When the two of them looked over, they saw 4 men emitting an unruly, and sinister aura, blocking Auntie Bai's path. Although Auntie Bai was suppressing the 4 of them, she couldn't get rid of them for a while. Ba too. When Chu Yang saw the person who spoke, he revealed a grave expression. Yi Ling's face sank. He said in a cold voice, "How bold! The descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea are truly lawless. To think that they dare to behave atrociously in the treasure master's residence. Brothers, let's go." Ba Tu laughed loudly. When he saw the experts of the treasure master's residence surrounding them, he quickly led his 4 subordinates in retreat. The 4 worked together and each tossed out a peak-grade astral core. The astral cores expanded in the air, and horrifying energy surged out. The light illuminated the entire treasure master's residence, forcing back the experts of the treasure master's residence and Aunt Bai. When the light vanished, the few minor pirates of the Black Sea were no longer there. They gathered together and exchanged glances. More people ran out of the Great Hall. After they understood the situation, their minds were filled with confusion. They could not accept this fact. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter had been openly carried away before everyone's eyes. There was probably nothing more absurd than this. Who exactly was this Xiao Chen? Why did he kidnap the holy daughter for no reason? Senior Bai, this matter happened in the treasure master's residence. Yi Ling is willing to bear full responsibility. I will definitely bring the holy daughter back unharmed within 3 days. Yi Ling was rather magnanimous. His words contained strong confidence. Aunt Bai thought of some possibilities. Then, she said indifferently, I am very clear on what kind of person your grandfather is. I can also completely trust the treasure master's residence's faction in the 10,000 treasure sea market. However, I hope that you do not need to make a move on this matter. The Lunar Palace will not vent their anger on others. As soon as she finished speaking, Aunt Bai's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Yi Ling entered deep thought. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter had been searching for doctors for the past few years. This time, when she came to the 10,000 treasure sea market, she had visited several grandmaster alchemists. His own medical skills were already unparalleled in the world, yet he still needed to find a doctor. This had always been an unsolved mystery. Now that he was mysteriously kidnapped, Aunt Bai's attitude was so vague. It really made people curious. However, since the other party had spoken, it was naturally not good for him to interfere. However, he still had to figure out Mo Yun's identity. Since when did such a person appear in the heavenly starry ocean? Xiao Chen had no idea at all. He made up his mind to expose Mo Yun's identity. Chu Yang's expression wavered. He felt that he could not see through this person. Aside from the white robes, he could not find any connection between Mo Yun and Xiao Chen. However, his intuition told him that this person was most likely the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen. He was the one who beat up Fu Hongyao and nearly disfigured him. At this moment, Xiao Chen needed to get to the bottom of this. Even if he used all the power of an immortal holy land, he had to figure out this person's identity. The others left quietly. Great waves of fear surged in their hearts. They were destined not to sleep tonight. The Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet appeared, and the Holy Daughter was kidnapped. Furthermore, not long ago, the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen, instantly killed one of the 8 blue-robed emperors. The heavenly starry ocean, which had been peaceful for a long time, felt like a storm was brewing as the hero gathering was about to begin. On the other side, Xiao Chen carried Yu Bingyun, whose cultivation was suppressed, and rushed away. After he left 10,000 Treasure City, he immediately unfurled the freedom wings and flashed into the distance. One step took him 50 kilometers. After 10 breaths, he was already 500 kilometers away. Xiao Chen put away the freedom wings and calmly landed on the surface of the sea. Then he looked around. After making sure that there was no one around, he put Yu Bingyun down. Sorry, I do not have any malicious intent. It is just that the expert beside Miss seems to be prejudiced against me, so I had no choice but to do this. Xiao Chen got straight to the point, once again expressing that he did not have any malicious intent and telling Yu Bingyun not to worry. Yu Bingyun was already angry in her heart. When she heard this, she became even angrier. Naturally, she could guess what Xiao Chen's purpose in carrying her away was. It was nothing more than the matter of 10 years of her lifespan. It would have been fine as long as they talked things over. However, this fellow did not know what was wrong with him. To think that he went through so much trouble, not hesitating to cause a huge commotion in the treasure master's residence, forcefully carrying her away. What was he thinking? I told Aunt Bai to pay more attention to him, fearing that something might happen to him. However, he misunderstood that I was prejudiced against him. Thinking of this, Yu Bingyun was so angry that she started laughing, feeling helpless. No matter what, she had finally achieved her purpose. She also had some things that she wanted to discuss with him alone. Yu Bingyun rested for a while before saying calmly, I know what you want to say. However, I am powerless to do anything about it. Your cultivation of the physical body has taken a wrong turn. It is too harsh on the body, and the medicines for treating injuries have not kept up. Now, even if a divine doctor appeared, he would not be able to save you. Of course, if you can reach Emperor Wu's level within 5 years, reconstructing the golden body would not be a problem. To Yu Bingyun, the latter part of Xiao Chen's words was just nonsense. She could tell that the Mo Yun before her had an extraordinary background. He had already reached the initial stage of blue-robed emperor. It was practically impossible to break through the vast chasm between blue-robed emperor and Emperor Wu within 5 years. Only during the ancient era, when the martial Dao was at its peak, did a small number of outstanding people have such accomplishments. Even the unrivaled Qing emperor of the later ancient era took 8 years to break through the stage. Xiao Chen entered deep thought and asked, what will happen after 5 years? After 5 years, even if your lifespan is not up, you will lose the chance to advance to Emperor Wu's level. Your withered and aged physical body will no longer be able to reconstruct the golden body. Do I really only have 5 years left? Xiao Chen's heart sank. Clinging to his last hope, he said, your sex longevity art? It's useless. When you were carrying me earlier, I secretly took your pulse. I discovered that your physiological lifespan has been delayed by 10 years. You should have a divine body nourishing art on you. Yu Bingyun interrupted him, directly extinguishing his last hope. Yu Bingyun interrupted Xiao Chen's words, directly extinguishing his final hope. The effects of the longevity art are no different from the divine body-nourishing art that you know. The situation is irreversible. You have already delayed it by 10 years. Even if you use the longevity art, it will not have any effect. Aside from advancing to martial emperor within 5 years, there was no other choice, which was equivalent to a dead end. Xiao Chen could not help smiling in disappointment. He was filled with hot-bloodedness and lofty aspirations. It looked like he was about to reach the peak and realize his grand ambitions. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to reach the peak, he met with such a great calamity. Along the way, he had fought countless strong enemies in the past 12 years. Encountering such a calamity made him feel very dissatisfied. In the current Kunlun realm, 10,000 years had passed in all directions. There had never been anyone who used only 5 years to cross the chasm between the heavens and the earth. Even the Qing Emperor took 8 years. Blue Dragon King, you have been unrivaled for half your life, filled with glory and fame. Your path has been filled with legends. What is there to be dissatisfied with? If you can accept it, as long as you scatter your cultivation and stop cultivating, you can live a peaceful life. Living for more than 100 years would not be a problem. Yu Bingyun's tone was calm and peaceful. You guessed my identity? Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes as he looked at this mysterious holy daughter, who he could not see clearly. When you used the blue-robed emperor's cultivation to instantly suppress me, I already guessed it. Xiao Chen smiled and said, the holy daughter's eyes are pretty good. Unfortunately, while you can guess my identity, you cannot guess my heart. I have defeated countless enemies in my life. No one can avoid defeat. How can I fall on myself? We will meet again in Bright Moon City 1 year from now. I will personally come to claim the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Yu Bingyun gaped slightly. How could he leave just like that? She still had something to ask. Whoosh, whoosh. Yu Bingyun looked around and saw a few figures flying over. She somewhat understood why Xiao Chen left. Miss Bingyun, are you all right? Chu Yang and Yi Ling, who arrived at nearly the same time, slowly landed on the surface of the sea. An expert with extremely strong auras stood behind each of them. Yu Bingyun took a quick look and knew that they were the blue-robed emperor's great perfection cultivation base. In the shortest time possible, the two of them summoned their strongest strength and rushed over as fast as they could. After the two sized up Yu Bingyun, they looked into the distance, in the direction that Xiao Chen had fled in. Under the night sky, there was no one in the vast sea. Unfortunately, we came too late and let that scoundrel escape. Chu Yang sighed softly, his eyes filled with heavy doubt. Yi Ling withdrew his gaze and whispered, Holy daughter, you had best return quickly. This person still has companions. I wonder if the descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea have gone far. Yu Bingyun found this strange. The descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea? Why are these fellows here? If not for this group of people suddenly appearing, Mo Yun would not have left 10,000 Treasure City so easily. Whoosh! Then, several figures flew over. It was Hai Tian, Gong Sun Yen, and the others. They led the quasi-emperor guards they had hidden in the dark and charged over. After asking around, Hai Tian said through clenched teeth, Miss Bingyun, after we return, we should immediately put up a notice to summon all the holy lands of the entire heavenly starry ocean to capture this person. Shangguan Yun and the others all agreed, saying that they had to kill this brat. At the banquet, Mo Yun had beaten these people into sorry states, turning them into a big joke. They wished that they could kill Xiao Chen now. Yu Bingyun thought for a while and said, There's no need. Something went wrong with his cultivation and he has only 10 years left to live. He only came to me to ask me about some things and did not have any intention of harming me. Furthermore, he has a deep relationship with my lunar palace. We can't be considered enemies. There was just a misunderstanding. Yi Ling's eyes lit up. He said, Based on what the holy daughter means, you seem to know a lot about this Mo Yun? Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, Not only do I know a lot about him, but the few of you should also be familiar with him. He is the Blue Dragon King, the white-robed Xiao Chen who swept through the younger generation of the Kunlun continent. The few of them immediately gaped, tongue-tied, unable to say anything. This news caught them somewhat off guard. However, since it came from the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, it could not be wrong. A piercing light flashed, illuminating the night sky. Without saying anything, Chu Yang led the great perfection blue-robed emperor experts behind him in pursuit. Chapter 1060. So, he is Xiao Chen, the one who killed my divine dragon palace's blue-robed emperor. To think that I misjudged him. A murderous intent flashed in Hai Tian's eyes. He and his guards quickly followed Chu Yang, charging over. The other outstanding talents reacted. Killing chi surged out of their bodies as they gave chase without saying a word. Only the young treasure master, Yi Ling, showed a contemplative expression. The great perfection blue-robed emperor beside him did not rush to give chase. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "Young treasure master, are you not going to join in the excitement?" Yi Ling smiled and replied casually, "Miss Bingyun chose this moment to reveal Mo Yun's identity." "You guessed correctly. Chu Yang's group will not be able to catch up to Xiao Chen. Young treasure master is still as smart as you were many years ago. In terms of intelligence, only the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young master, Ling Xiaofan, can surpass you in the heavenly starry ocean." Yu Bingyun's face, which no one could see clearly, seemed to reveal a rather cute expression. Yi Ling smiled self-mockingly. Unfortunately, even if the two of us work together, we are not even a tenth of Miss Bingyun's. Miss Bingyun seems to have something to ask of this Blue Dragon King. What is it? Why don't you tell me? Although I am not as dazzling as the Blue Dragon King, I believe that I am somewhat capable. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "Young Master Yi is being too humble. To be able to reach the young treasure master's level among the hundreds of the treasure master's grandchildren, how could he only be somewhat capable? He might even be able to compete with the Blue Dragon King. Furthermore, if this Blue Dragon King continues to temper his physical body, he will only have 10 more years to live. However, this is my matter and has nothing to do with strength. Might I ask if young Master Yi knows who in the heavenly starry ocean knows the immortal epic's alchemy?" Yi Ling felt slightly stunned. Then he frowned and said, "I heard that the immortal epic's alchemy is not kept in the Penglai Sea. No one knows it and it has been lost for a long time. Could it be that this Blue Dragon King knows it?" "Most likely, so young Master Yi won't be able to help me with this." Indeed I can't help you. However, I do have a favor that I need the Saintess's help with." "What help?" Yu Bingyun revealed a curious look in her eyes. Yi Ling said unhurriedly, "I received news that several major characters are preparing to work together to go to the heart of the ocean in half a month. If I have the Saintess with me, I think I have an 80% chance of escaping unscathed." Finding it strange, Yu Bingyun asked, "Which major character is he so unafraid of death, even daring to barge into the heart of the ocean?" "There are a few Emperor Wu who are nearing the end of their lifespans, or are facing a bottleneck in breaking through. Of course, they are prepared to risk their lives and go deeper. We just need to walk around the corner." It turned out that it was Emperor Wu, who was nearing the end of his lifespan and was preparing to break through to the next level. It was not hard to understand why these people had the heart to fight to the death. Yu Bingyun thought for a while before saying, if they only take risks in the corners, they can retreat easily. However, the various sea domains have entrances to the heart of the ocean. Where do they intend to go? The Southern Sea's Despair City. Otherwise, I would not have obtained this news. Yi Ling smiled faintly and said, "I'll send Miss Bingyun back to 10,000 Treasure City first." He waved his hand, and a bright light fell from the sky. 8 divine steeds with fur that looked like fiery glaze came down. An ancient and luxurious golden chariot flew down like a fireball, illuminating the night sky. The treasure master really dotes on you. With this war chariot, whether I go or not, at least your life will not be in danger." Yu Bingyun sighed softly. Clearly, she knew many secrets about this golden war chariot before her. Yi Ling did not deny it. The blue-robed emperor often takes risks in Despair City. Furthermore, there will definitely be others who obtain this news. Having one more person would be much safer. The two rode the chariot back to the city. As for the group, they chased for 5,000 kilometers under the starry night. However, they could not find any leads and could only return in frustration. On a lonely island in the vast sea, Xiaochen, who had escaped long ago, sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. Vaguely, between reality and illusion, Xiaochen stood before the chasm between heaven and earth. Bridge piers had already taken shape on both sides of him, looking resplendent with dragon heads carved on them. With a thought, Xiaochen sank his spiritual sense to his dantian. The motes of heavenly laws were like liquefied electric light, forming an extremely blurry blue dragon seal. As Xiaochen breathed, it absorbed the energy of the world. This was the heavenly seal, the predecessor of the heart of an emperor. Everyone's physique and cultivation technique were different. There were thousands of variations, and it was hard to find an identical heavenly seal. The blue-robed emperor's cultivation was to condense the heavenly laws of these motes of electric light into a solid heavenly seal. Then, it would form the heart of an emperor, truly connecting to the world. At that time, the dragon bridge between the chasm would reach the other side, and the emperor's door would descend from the sky, descending into the real world. It was easy to say, but the difficulty was indescribable in a few words. To materialize more than 10,000 points of liquefied heavenly laws would require an unknown amount of natural energy. In any case, Xiaochen felt that the Holy Spirit vein in the universe ring was barely enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. At the very least, he needed 100 Holy Spirit veins to materialize 10,000 heavenly laws. In the post-ancient era, Holy Spirit veins were extremely rare. No one would be so extravagant as to use them to cultivate. This stage was something that required time. Furthermore, this was just small perfection for the blue-robed emperor. He still had to spend time to gather the materialized heavenly laws together. Only after forming the heavenly seal could the blue-robed emperor be considered to have reached great perfection. After great perfection, the heavenly seal would form a soul. Only then would the blue-robed emperor be considered to have reached peak consummation. After that was the most crucial and dangerous step, undergoing the great tribulation of wind and fire, evolving the heavenly seal into the heart of an emperor. After that, one could become Emperor Wu, reconstruct the golden body, and ascend to the great Tao. Each stage took an unknown amount of time. Many people guarded it for their entire lives, exhausting their lifespans, yet they could not make it to the third stage. Many people put in a lot of effort to clear the 3 stages, only to get burned to death in the great tribulation of wind and fire. What was the chasm of heaven and earth? This was the chasm of heaven and earth. Crossing it meant the difference between heaven and earth. However, the time left for Xiaochen was only 5 years. 5 years. If Xiaochen did not advance to martial emperor within 5 years, he could live for only 20 years. If he continued to destroy his body during these 20 years, his physiological lifespan would decrease even further. Ao Jiao remained silent in the immortal spirit ring. After she learned that the blue dragon body nourishing art and the longevity art could not help Xiaochen, she had not said a word. Xiaochen tried to tease her a few times, but she did not say anything. Little Ao Jiao, what's wrong? Do you not have any confidence that I can advance to martial emperor within 5 years? Xiaochen said with a faint smile as he opened his eyes. Are you confident? The silent Ao Jiao suddenly asked. Naturally, he was not. Even the Qing Emperor took 8 years. Even if Xiaochen reached the level of the Qing Emperor, he would not be able to escape death. Xiaochen only had 5 years left. If he did not advance to martial emperor within 5 years, even if he cleared the great tribulation of wind and fire, his heavenly seal would not be able to evolve into a heart of an emperor. However, confidence was not important. The most important thing was not to give up on working hard. That was impossible. There was clearly little hope, yet Xiaochen was still very confident. How was that any different from lying to himself? As the saying goes, there will always be a way out. This is not wrong. However, if the car breaks down before it reaches the mountain, Even if there is a way out, you will not be able to take it. Even if there is a path, you will not be able to walk it. Ao Jiao, you understand what I mean, right? Xiao Chen recalled the words that many people in his previous life used to comfort themselves when they were in dire straits. That was right. There was always a way out. However, opportunities always came to the prepared. Regardless of whether Xiao Chen was confident or not, he could not give up or stop working hard. Once he gave up, it would really be a dead end. Ao Jiao thought about it twice before she understood Xiao Chen's meaning. She smiled and asked, "What do you plan to do now? Are you going to change your plans?" Xiao Chen's original plan was to sell off the miscellaneous items and profound martial techniques on him before buying secret treasures containing dragon souls and cultivating the first layer of the blue dragon body nourishing art. After that, he would go to the Forbidden Land and take away the Despair Throne. After that, he would go to the Northern Sea to meet Long Fei and find a backer for Heavenly Star Island. Finally, he would return to Heavenly Star Island and meet up with Kim Tae-ho and Lan Xiaobai. He would do his best to develop Heavenly Star Island as the first step to reviving the Dragon's Gate. However, along the way, there had been too many surprises. Now that he knew about the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, he definitely could not return so early. This was the last remaining mountain tablet of the Dragon's Gate. No matter what, Xiao Chen had to snatch it back. I should go to Despair City first and take away the Despair Throne. Xiao Chen stood up and took out the sea chart. Then he searched for his own sea chart. Xiao Chen had left in too much of a rush last night, so he did not pay attention to where he was going. Xiao Chen had used the Freedom Wings continuously and had already arrived at the end of the Southern Sea. If Xiao Chen continued forward, he would enter the Desolate Sea. It was a boundless sea, barren and deserted with few people. Just as Xiao Chen put away the sea chart, a soft cracking sound came from his body. With a thought, he opened his mouth and spat out the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Xiao Chen went forward to take a look. He saw the solar true flame and the smooth golden crow egg. Cracks appeared on it at a visible rate, cracking rapidly. Xiao Chen was somewhat surprised that the golden crow egg had hatched 1 month earlier. Joy appeared on his face. He could finally see the true appearance of the legendary divine bird that could turn into the sun. Quick, infuse your essence blood into it. Otherwise it will fly away. Ao Jiao exclaimed urgently after she reacted. Xiao Chen's expression changed, and a strand of blood shot out from his fingertip. It turned into a beam of red light and flew towards the golden crow egg. Ka! However, Xiao Chen was too late. Just as the blood was about to touch the golden crow egg, it shattered. A golden light the size of a square centimeter spread out. This caught Xiao Chen off guard. He was temporarily blinded, and his vision turned pitch black. Xiao Chen circulated his heavenly laws and quickly recovered his vision. Then he squinted and saw the sky. A clump of light that was not inferior to the blazing sun was flying quickly to the east. Xiao Chen vaguely sensed the golden crow in the sky. Xiao Chen could feel the fear, panic, and fear in the little fellow's heart. It looked like that drop of essence blood had entered the little fellow's body at the last moment. For a long time, Xiao Chen's solar true flame had been incubating the golden crow. The two had an invisible, unbreakable connection. All Xiao Chen had to do was wait for the golden crow to tire of flying and comfort it. When the essence blood completely merged with the golden crow's blood, the golden crow would treat Xiao Chen like a relative and would no longer be like this. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's expression changed as he looked in the direction of the golden crow's departure. Oh no, it is heading to the solar star. To Xiao Chen, that place is a hopeless situation. Unless one was a martial emperor, one would not be able to enter. One needed the strength of a sovereign martial emperor. Chapter 1061. However, to the golden crow, it was like a fish in water or a dragon in the sea. Xiao Chen's unmerged drop of essence blood would probably evaporate in the sun. How could he just watch the golden crow, which he had waited for so many years, fly away at the critical moment? Xiao Chen's face sank as he quickly chased after the golden crow on the water. The two suns competed with each other, creating mysterious phenomena. Fortunately, this was the Desolate Sea. If it were anywhere else, Who knew what kind of trouble it would cause? Bang! 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 With every step Xiaochen took in the vast sea, he kicked up countless towering waves. His body moved like a roaming dragon as he weaved through the huge waves. Strong winds blew, and the waves surged endlessly. As Xiaochen watched the golden crow spread its wings in the sky, he felt both startled and happy. He was happy that the little golden crow was so fast even though it had just been born. He executed his movement technique to its limits, nearly tearing space apart. However, that was all he could ensure that he would not lose track of the golden crow. What shocked him was that this guy just kept flying. He was really going to be flown away by it. Fortunately, the golden crow's intelligence was not fully developed yet. It could only fly according to its senses. If it knew how to break through the barrier of the sky, it would have flown out of the starry heavens long ago. At that time, there would be more variables. At the very least, there would be no outsiders in the desolate sea for now. No one would compete with him. As he ran, the blazing sun rose and fell. 7 days passed just like that, but night had yet to fall. There was no other reason than the golden crow existing. The sun would never set in this desolate sea. After 7 days of intense running, Xiaochen did not feel tired. However, if he continued running like this, he would soon leave the desolate sea. The sea map did not indicate where the desolate sea was, so Xiaochen did not know. If he ran into an expert, he would be in trouble. Just at this moment, Xiaochen suddenly felt extreme fear in the golden crow in the sky. Xiaochen looked up and saw an arrow carrying the force of a thunderbolt shooting towards the golden crow in the sky at lightning speed. If this arrow hit, the newly born golden crow would definitely die. Oh no, Xiaochen thought to himself. He had to use 10 times his combat power again. He knew that he couldn't use a heaven-defying art like tenfold in the current state of his physical body. However, at this moment he had no choice but to use it. Xiaochen clenched his teeth and executed the myriad heaven-divine fists deities descending as he ran. The divine light tore through the sky and entered Xiaochen's body. Above the sea, Xiaochen shouted and leaped up. The emotions that he had been suppressing for the past 7 days burst out at this moment. 100 illusionary heaven dragons appeared behind Xiaochen. The dragons roared furiously and exploded with a shocking aura. The shockwaves they created caused the seawater within 50 kilometers to be lifted into the air, creating a magnificent scene. Xiaochen soared into the surging seawater. Tiny spatial cracks appeared in the void as he rose higher and higher. Xiaochen, whose speed had surpassed his limits, appeared behind the golden crow like a flash of light. He reached out and grabbed the palm-sized golden crow in his palm. Before Xiaochen could take a closer look at the golden crow, the arrow that could tear through the sky had already flown over. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes, and his left hand did its best to grab the arrow, firmly grasping it. The skin on Xiaochen's hand immediately tore, and he felt a fiery pain as a huge force assaulted him. Xiaochen shouted and stomped on the air. The strength of the blue-robed emperor burst out, driving the power of the world. No matter how great the force of the arrow was, his body remained steady in the air. Xiaochen looked in the direction where the arrow came from. At the highest point of an island 10 kilometers away, a boorish and bold man drew his bow, preparing to shoot a second arrow. Xiaochen's gaze turned cold. He turned his head back, and the arrow in his left hand shot back at an even faster speed. The boorish man was clearly startled. However, he reacted very quickly. He pushed off the ground and flew away. Boom! Xiaochen's backhand arrow struck the mountain peak under Xiaochen's feet, shattering it into countless cracks. Whoosh! The mountain shattered, and dust filled the air. A beam of light tore through the dust, quickly flying toward Xiaochen. It turned out to be that boorish man. As he retreated, he did not stop shooting. Xiaochen frowned. This person's archery skills were extremely terrifying, forcing Xiaochen to use the strength of the blue-robed emperor before he could receive the arrow. The heavenly laws in his dantian drained rapidly. Xiaochen took a step forward, and the space around him flashed, showing many scenes. Using the power of the world, Xiaochen kicked, knocking away the arrow at the critical moment. Poof, poof, poof. 9 sonic booms rang out. 9 arrows appeared in the distance, flying over from different directions and angles. Xiao Chen did not know what secret technique this person used, but the arrows actually contained the power of the world. This made the arrows flying over vaguely feel like they were flying along with the void of the world. That was not all. The 9 arrows flew over from different angles, each occupying a position and forming a cage of heaven and earth. No matter how Xiao Chen retreated, the world moved with him. When the 9 arrows closed in, they would always lock onto Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression turned somewhat grave. The golden crow in his palm trembled. After flying for 7 days, the moment it relaxed, it fainted. Xiao Chen placed the golden crow in his chest and pushed off with his feet, spinning his body backward. A bright moon like fire, red peach blossoms, a blazing sun, withered leaves, and many mysterious phenomena came out of Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen used the power of his heavenly laws to execute instant of glory again, merging it into the world. The chaotic mysterious phenomena and the grand scene looked very real. It lacked some of the magnificence but gained a sense of completeness and nature. When the saber was drawn, a light appeared. The glory was eternal in that instant as the saber light swept out in all directions. Bang! 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 Crunching sounds rang out as the 9 deadly arrows exploded in the air. Their boundless might easily crumbled. Quickly go! After the desolate sea, it is the sea region ruled by the myriad fiend island, an immortal holy land, Ao Jiao warned from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and somersaulted in the air. Xiao Chen flew 10 kilometers and spun around in circles, giving off a flickering electric light. A ferocious lightning dragon howled into the distance. A boorish and bold man drew his bow on the small island. Even as Xiao Chen fled far away, becoming only a small black dot in his vision, he did not give up. As the boorish man slowly drew the bowstring, thunder roared in the world, rumbling everywhere. A vertical eye opened on the boorish man's forehead. Xiao Chen, which was originally just a small black dot, instantly magnified in his vision. Suddenly in his eyes, it was magnified endlessly. It was as if the space had shrunk by half, and the figure in his eyes was getting closer. When the boorish man saw Xiao Chen clearly, his fingers loosened, and the arrow in his hand turned into a bolt of lightning, flying for his life. After shooting this arrow, the boorish man collapsed. His vertical eye slowly closed, and sweat covered his forehead. His complexion was pale, drained of blood. Xiao Chen, who was already more than 50 kilometers away, suddenly felt his heart sink. He quickly turned around, and his mind instantly tensed up. Without any hesitation, he held his saber horizontally across his chest. Pu Si. The scabbard blocked the arrow, and Xiao Chen flew back 1 kilometer on the water, kicking up huge waves. Xiao Chen's complexion paled slightly, and cracks appeared in his internal organs. Intense pain spread throughout his body. Only after vomiting a mouthful of blood did he feel much better. Is there no end to this? When the arrow's momentum weakened, Xiao Chen flicked the scabbard and knocked it away. Then he spiraled up and threw a palm strike from 50 kilometers away. A bright moon rose up behind him. The moon was like fire, fueled by thousands of kilograms of hot-bloodedness. The Tao was filled with joy and sorrow, parting and reunions, expressing lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness. The wine was an intoxicating red, and the blood was a beautiful flame. 1,000-year flame, lofty sentiments remained forever. The Tao was filled with joy and sorrow. Aside from that boorish man, there were 2 other people on the small island, a man and a woman. The man was definitely familiar to Xiao Chen. He was the strongest person of the killing sword Tao, Yan Shisen. This person is very powerful. He looks very young, but he easily broke Second Brother's 9 stars shattering Sunday. He even opened his heavenly eye and executed the killing arrow. Even so, he could not stop this person. The woman exuding a mature charm exclaimed as she looked into the distance at Xiao Chen, who caught the arrow. The bow-wielding man was called Mu Qingyun. Fatigue appeared on his face. He smiled bitterly and said, I have been in closed-door cultivation on Myriad Fiend Island for many years. I originally thought that no one in the same generation could defeat me. Unexpectedly, before I left the myriad fiends' sea, I suffered such a blow. Brother Shirsan, you have been traveling the heavenly starry ocean for the past few years. Are the experts of the same generation in the heavenly starry ocean really so incredible? Mu Qingyun had used his full power, unleashed his trump card, and unleashed this arrow with absolute confidence. However, the other party still blocked it in the end. Mu Qingyun could not help but feel dispirited. He even started to doubt his own strength. Yan Shirsan's stern face did not show any expression. He said calmly, "How can that be? It is just that you ran into someone you should not have." This arrow injured the Blue Dragon King Shaochen. As far as I know, this is the first time he suffered such a loss among the same generation. You should be proud of yourself. He is the Blue Dragon King Shaochen. That woman's expression clearly turned startled. When Mu Qingyun heard this, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He knew Yan Shirsan's character very well. Yan Shirsan would not purposely flatter others. By saying this, Yan Shirsan was praising him. Yan Shirsan could be proud of himself without any falsehood. However, even after unleashing all his trump cards, he only managed to injure the other party. Given Mu Qingyun's proud character, he could not bring himself to smile at such praise. Suddenly, Yan Shirsan's expression changed slightly, and he shouted, "Retreat!" However, by the time Yan Shirsan said that, it was already too late. Night suddenly fell, and a bright moon rose into the sky. The moon was like fire, illuminating the night sky and the island under their feet. Countless figures leaped out of the full moon. Every one of them had a wild and unruly smile, filled with lofty aspirations and lofty aspirations. It was like a resonant song could be heard in the world. Singing to the moon, drinking and rejoicing, laughing at the sorrows and joys, parting and reuniting. Everyone is drunk, I am the only sober one. Others cannot see through me. Don't laugh at me for being too crazy. I am proud and arrogant all my life. 1,000-year flame, 10,000 men kill, the moon exists alone, I am wild. The thousands of figures threw palm strikes at the same time. The small island 50 kilometers away crumbled in an instant. The bow-wielding man bore the brunt of it. His internal organs ruptured, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. If not for the inherited treasure armor he wore, he would have vanished along with the island, dying without a complete corpse. Yan Shirsan and that woman suffered relatively little pressure. Furthermore, they were in their peak states. They only drifted far away with the chaotic flow of the island's crumbling. Chapter 1062. The pretty girl appeared to be in a sorry state. However, Yan Shirsan appeared much more relaxed. He did not even draw his heavenly ice sword yet. The girl stabilized herself and searched for the bow-wielding man's body with a flustered expression. When she saw the other party lying in the seawater, she heaved a sigh of relief and quickly flew over. However, it was not over yet. Right after the palm strike, another azure-colored saber chi shot out, splitting the seawater in half. Then, dragon roars rang out from all directions as the saber chi headed for the bow-wielding man. When the pretty girl saw this startling saber chi, despair involuntarily appeared in her eyes. She could not catch up to the speed of this saber chi at all. When she landed beside the bow-wielding man, she would probably see his corpse split in half. At the critical moment, the stern Yan Shirsan quickly drew his sword. A sword intent of massacre spread out, clashing with the dragon might, not giving way. Dang! In the time it took for a spark to fly, the sword blocked that saber chi. 18 forces, each stronger than the one before, layered over each other and entered Yan Shirsan's body through the sword. Blood leaked out of Yan Shirsan's lips. His body spun 10 times in the air, kicking up countless waves. Only then did Yan Shirsan stop in the air. He looked into the distance and thought to himself, I was still too careless. After not seeing him for so many years, the strength of this old friend of mine has already surpassed my expectations. To think that a saber strike from 50,000 meters away could still have such might. Second brother, are you all right? The pretty girl asked anxiously when she landed beside the severely injured youth. Mu Qingyun smiled and said, I won't die. Never mind. Let's wait for Big Brother to come out of closed-door cultivation before going to Despair City. I really embarrassed myself at home this time. Seeing that Mu Qingyun could still joke, the pretty girl relaxed. She smiled and said, "It's fine, it's fine. Since young Master Shirsan said so, you can be proud." When Mu Qingyun saw that Yan Shirsan broke that vast saber chi, he could not help feeling bitter. Mu Qingyun could not defeat the Blue Dragon King. It looked like this Yan Shirsan hid his strength and was probably not a match for him either. Originally, Mu Qingyun was filled with pride, preparing to leave the 10,000 Demon Sea and show off his skills. Now, he knew how many heroes there were in the world. Someone had blocked the subduing dragon profound slash. Shao Chun extended his divine sense and discovered that the one who had blocked it was someone he knew. The profound domain swordsman Yan Shirsan, who wandered the heavenly starry ocean, actually appeared in the sea region ruled by the myriad fiend island. This was somewhat unexpected. Since it was Yan Shirsan, the moment Shao Chun drew his saber, Yan Shirsan should have recognized him from his martial technique. After sensing for a while, he found several strong auras in the sea region behind him, startled over. Shao Chun did not linger, he turned around and walked away. It was not that he had to kill the person who shot the arrow. He just wanted to teach him a lesson. "Are you all right, Shao Chun?" Seeing that his face was still pale, Ao Jiao asked worriedly. Shao Chun shook his head, but when he thought of that last arrow, he still felt a lingering fear. If he did not have a peak 4th level saint body, that arrow would have at least severely injured him. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the heavenly starry ocean. Sometimes this was very contradictory. Shao Chen's strong physical body allowed him to remain undefeated among those of the same generation, not fearing any experts. Just like earlier, it could be said that this physical body saved his life. If not for this physical body, he would have died several times over. Now, it was this physical body that brought him the greatest danger on his path of cultivation. Hence, there was no need for Shao Chun to regret cultivating his physical body like a mad demon over the past few years. There was also no need for him to regret using his tenfold combat prowess, bringing hidden dangers to his physical body. There were always pros and cons between gains and losses. After he was safe, Shao Chun landed on the surface of the sea. Then, he casually tossed out a wooden plank from his universe ring and sat on it, drifting along with the water. Shao Chun took out the little fellow from his embrace. The palm-sized golden crow fell into a deep sleep. The golden crow's pale yellow feathers were soft and glossy. It was petite and looked very cute. Shao Chun could not feel any of the tyranny it had when it competed with the sun earlier. The might of a holy beast was nowhere to be seen. Shao Chun felt somewhat suspicious. The golden crow that he had chased for 7 days and waited for 2 or 3 years could not be a scammer, right? After sizing up his surroundings, Shao Chun tapped the golden crow's head with his right hand, trying to figure out what kind of existence it was. Pooh! The moment Shao Chen's finger touched the golden crow's forehead, the sleeping golden crow startled awake. Then, it opened its beak and spat out a golden flame. This was the solar true flame, which had been condensed to its limit. It seemed to have surpassed the limits of fire. It was just a beam of light, a resplendent beam of light. The flame was aimed at Shao Chen's face. If it struck him, he would really be disfigured. Shao Chun felt slightly startled. He tilted his head slightly, and the golden flame brushed past his face. After the flame shot out for 1 kilometer, it burned the air. When Shao Chun turned his head to take a look, he was greatly startled. The place where the flame burned was pitch black. When he blinked, it looked like space had been burned through. The flame that the golden crow, which had just been born, spat out already possessed such might. No matter how many martial sages there were, they would be burned to ashes. Even Grandmaster-level martial sages would not be able to withstand this flame. However, it would still be somewhat difficult to injure the blue-robed emperor. However, this was just a newly born golden crow. It still had a vast and boundless room for growth. Shao Chun rejoiced in his heart. After the little fellow spat out the flame on his palm, it glared at him with intelligent eyes, appearing very proud. That drop of essence blood had already completely merged into the little golden crow's body. Xiao Chen should have a rather close relationship with it now. Otherwise, the golden crow would have flown away the moment it woke up. However, when he looked at the little fellow's expression, it seemed like it looked down on him, making him feel depressed. Little golden crow, spit out another flame. Let me see. Xiao Chen wanted to see exactly how great the golden crow's potential was. However, the golden crow turned its head away, ignoring him completely. It looked like Xiao Chen had no choice but to reveal some of his true abilities. What a cute little bird. Is this really a holy beast? Just at this moment, Ao Jiao came out of the immortal spirit ring and snatched the little golden crow away. Then, she started playing with it with her fingers. Xiao Chen was just about to cry out in danger. Who knew? The golden crow did not flare up in Ao Jiao's hands. Instead, it became extremely docile. The golden crow closed its eyes, appearing to be enjoying itself. This made Ao Jiao very happy. This was clearly different from when Xiao Chen played with it. Little fellow, let big sister see what abilities you have, Ao Jiao said happily. The golden crow cried out and spread its wings, circling in the air. Suddenly, its feathers gave off a bright light, dazzling everyone's eyes, competing with the sun's brilliance. Boom! The golden crow opened its beak and spat out a flame. This flame was clearly much stronger than the earlier one. The surface of the flame flickered with a golden spiritual light. When it entered the seawater, pitch black holes 100 meters long silently appeared on the surface of the sea. The flame's temperature was too high. There was not even any water vapor. The seawater directly vaporized and burned into nothing. The little golden crow circled around and withdrew its light. Then, it landed back in Ao Jiao's hand. Excellent! Ao Jiao praised sincerely. The solar true flame of such quality was truly horrifying. Crick, crick. The little fellow seemed to understand Ao Jiao's praise. It cried out happily and flapped its little wings on Ao Jiao's palm, looking very cocky. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. Whose pet is this? I spent a lot of effort to hatch this golden crow egg with my solar true flame. Furthermore, I even infused my essence blood into it. Why is it so intimate with Ao Jiao now? Don't be jealous. Little Yellow Feather is a boy. It is normal for it to be closer to me. Ao Jiao giggled as she stroked the golden crow. How do you know it is a boy? Xiao Chen exclaimed in shock. Suddenly, he reacted and asked, Wait, what did you call it earlier? Little Yellow Feather. Don't you think this name is very appropriate? Ao Jiao smiled and said, Little Yellow Feather, Little Yellow Feather. Look, it likes this name. The golden crow, a bona fide holy beast, was like the blue dragon, a mythical existence of the immortal epic. Unexpectedly, it was called such a name. Xiao Chen was speechless. However, when he thought about the name Ao Jiao gave by, he felt somewhat at ease. However, no matter how he listened to it, the name Little Yellow Feather sounded like a name given to a cat or dog. What's wrong? You don't like the name I gave it? Ao Jiao asked with a stern expression. When the golden crow in Ao Jiao's palm saw Ao Jiao's stern expression, it also glared at Xiao Chen angrily. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and said against his will, It doesn't matter. Little Yellow Feather, just call it Little Yellow Feather. Ao Jiao said, That's right. It said that it is hungry. Give it something to eat, then. What does it want to eat? Xiao Chen asked. Astral cores. Regular spirit pills can only be fed to spirit beasts. Holy beasts need astral cores from astral beasts. Ao Jiao was very familiar with this. Xiao Chen still had quite a few astral cores on hand. Without hesitating, he tossed out an inferior-grade astral core. Little Yellow Feather swallowed an inferior-grade astral core. It seemed like it did not even need to chew before digesting it. Xiao Chen tossed out 10 inferior-grade astral cores in a row. However, Little Yellow Feather did not seem satisfied at all. Xiao Chen tossed out a total of 100 astral cores. Only then did Little Yellow Feather fly back to Ao Jiao's shoulder in satisfaction. Then, it closed its eyes and yawned in a very human-like manner, falling asleep. Xiao Chen's face twitched slightly. One inferior grade astral core was worth 1,000 black astral coins. 100 inferior grade astral cores would be 100,000 black astral coins. Furthermore, this was just the amount Little Yellow Feather could eat in one meal. How could Xiao Chen afford to feed it like this? He would go bankrupt. Ao Jiao could tell that Xiao Chen was worried. She smiled and said, "It's fine. As long as it does not fight, it will not eat so much. Place it in the Holy Beast Medallion, then." That Holy Beast Medallion is a precious secret treasure specially made for holy beasts during the ancient era. The space in it can allow holy beasts to grow faster. When Xiao Chen heard this, he relaxed slightly. If Xiao Chen had to spend 100,000 black astral coins for each meal every day, that would be very troublesome. The 10,000 beast images in the Holy Beast Medallion were no longer there. The 10,000 beast cauldron in Xiao Chen's hand was only an imitation of an emperor-grade secret treasure. At this cultivation realm, Xiao Chen no longer cared about it. Furthermore, he did not have the Jiang clan's special cultivation technique. Thus, he made a move on it back at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Without the 10,000 beast images, Xiao Chen could use them to raise Little Yellow Feather alone. This bona fide holy beast would have a much better future than those images. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.